Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. It's episode 188, F9. Woo! I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too. Did we get the episode number last night? 187?
I did, yes. I can't believe that I did. I also, so I got it right on the episode last night from the car, and then I was looking on cageclub.me when I was posting the thing, and I was like, no, did I get the, because it's 188, and then I looked, I just missed a number. Like the episode number everywhere but Cage Club was right, but then on the home side, I was just like, oh boy. But anyway, we're good. 188, 187 last night.
Perfect.
F9. Whew.
Wow.
So this will be a spoiler-filled thing. So if you've not seen F9 yet...
So many spoilers.
So, okay, I will say, though, if you've seen both trailers, there's not really a lot left to be spoiled. But if you want to avoid spoilers, if you want to dodge spoilers, don't listen. Come back, save this, come back later. But we're going to spoil the hell out of F9, which we saw last night. We rolled 10 deep to the movie theater. Yep. Past guests and future guests. Resident Story Mike Manzi and Brian Slumber Party Rodriguez and Heather Antos.
Yes.
And Dan the Duke Hayden, of course.
Dan the Duke Hayden. Yeah, he was here.
And then we had, past guest, Rachel. Past guest.
Yeah.
But we had 10. It was great. It was it was a blast.
Dude, I had so much fun. It was fun hanging out with everyone. It was fun seeing the theater. And the theater was like, what would you say, like about 40% full?
So that's what's strange. Yeah. So F9 made $7 million in the U.S. last night on the preview, what they called a preview night, which was the highest in the pandemic. It's over 300 million worldwide. It's probably tracking toward $1 billion. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the tricky thing is, number one, people are still wary to go to the theater, which I understand.
Yep.
Number two, when we bought the tickets, because like last year we bought them like months in advance. Remember, we were like they're just like, hey, trailer here, tickets on sale now. And so this time was like June 1st or whatever. We're like, oh, okay, cool, we'll buy tickets. But then in the 3 weeks or whatever between the time we bought the tickets and we saw the movie, they had relaxed the COVID guidelines. So when we bought the tickets, what the system did was blocked off the seats in front of us, behind us, and on either side.
True.
So essentially buying what we bought 14 tickets essentially blocked off 46 seats or something like that, or 44 seats. Those all became available when AMC was like, yeah, no, we're back at our regular capacity or whatever. So I think there were a lot of people who just maybe didn't know that tickets were available. Also, people don't want to be in the theater or whatever. And also, it was a beautiful day yesterday, right? So
Thursday, and it's a Thursday night. You know, it was like a weeknight. So, yes, all these things.
So, yeah. And it's doing well financially, but yes, I don't want to take not that anybody who's listening to this is going to judge the merits of the franchise based on the one theater capacity that we were at last night, but I just didn't want to take 40% as a sign that this isn't doing well.
No, I was saying it's actually pretty good based on all of these things, but yes.
Without further ado, let's talk about F9.
Dude.
No intro. We're gonna do emails later, but just let's talk about it. Go into it. Go for it.
I did not know. Okay, this is the thing that I've been thinking and said many times since we left the theater driving home. I did not know how bad we needed Justin Lin back. That's my main conclusion here. When I was some people asked me how was it. I said this F9 had so much more heart than 7 and 8. Just a different feel. I don't know what it was. You know that I'm not huge on 7. You know that we were kind of down on 8. We've come around. We like it, right? But 9 was just holy shit. This is what it's been missing. It feels like a rebirth, honestly, for me in the franchise. So I'm so excited to see where this goes to. But that's my grand overall thoughts of what happened to me last night.
I think that's fair. I re-ranked. I don't know if you did your rankings again, because somebody emailed in their rankings. I will not spoil now. We'll talk about that later. 7. It's hard because it's how do you rank 10 perfect movies? You know what I mean? It's impossible. It's hard to compare, I think, and I don't know that I would define it as that, but I don't think it's a wrong way to define it, the Justin Lin versus non-Justin Lin. But we had come around. We had sort of been critical of 7.
Yes.
With realizing, I think it was Kate Hudson, it was they had to revamp everything or whatever. Oh, yeah, that's probably true. And then Fate, we were down on, and then we kind of came higher on because of the fact that Cypher's coming back, and Cypher's back, and Cypher will continue to be back because she survives this movie again, right? So I think it's still hard to necessarily compare them.
Yes.
I will say, as much as we enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw, that we thought it was a blast, there felt like more significance to
I
seeing this
agree.
movie last night,
I
both
absolutely
in
agree.
the anticipation leading up to it, and then just the fact that like everybody's showing up. Like it's cool to see new people. Like it's cool to see Michael Rooker in the flashback, and there's a whole flashback thing we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, these are people that we know and that we've known for a while. Like it's not, they're not really like one thing that they did not do in a good way is they didn't really wildly expand it. Like I think
I
maybe
said
the
this. Yep.
only
Yep.
new person that they added in the modern timeline is maybe Cardi, unless I'm. Oh well, no, they
No,
have
Hans
L. Yes,
L, yes.
played by Anna Sawai and Cardi B.
Otto, but he was just a bad guy, so it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, and I said to you in the theater, I'm like, that should have been Chalamet because you want your
Oh
boy Timothy Chalamet
man.
in these movies, and he could play like a Weasley kind of European guy, right? So
Yeah, young daddy's boy, spoiled privileged guy. Something that I felt that just like off the tip makes this feel so much better too. Not to compare them, but a lot of the things that I say about 8 is like I don't really know the motivations of 8. Like the story's kind of convoluted, and this was very direct. I remember a ton of it from last night. Like I know exactly what was happening. There wasn't like very convoluted like it was like okay, get the well, I'm going to call this thing the Tesseract, right? Because that's what it was.
sure. Yeah, let's do. So the plot summary,
Go
very
ahead.
quickly, is that there are these two halves of this thing. So
The
okay,
Tesseract.
it's straightforward, but it's also not because of course it's not. And I also
Yeah.
think, and we'll talk about it. There are other questions. Like it doesn't fully. It's just like oh,
No,
like we
but it's
found out
building.
eventually that like Jacob worked for the DSS or worked for Mr. Nobody, right, and then went rogue. But like we don't know why, and it's just like oh, and I don't know if we're ever gonna know why, or if it's just like yeah, he was a good guy, or he was a family member, then he got exiled, whatever. So like I don't know that it's really straightforward. I think they're all just like they're trying to take over the world and our
The
families
bad
to
guy
stop them.
part
Like
though.
that's yeah,
The motivations were there. It was like get this thing, not like Cypher wants accountability. Yeah, like no, there wasn't that. It was like get the Tesseract. That's what he's trying to get. That's what we're trying to get. It'll control all the satellites. It's like a virus. Then you could just blow up the world.
well, it's not even that. It's that once you have the two halves, the Tesseract and the key, which we eventually find out is a person, not an actual thing,
Yeah.
then you're able to control every computer in the world, and you can hack anything. They
Yes.
also hint at kind of like time travel-y sort of thing. They're like, this is a thing that shouldn't exist for 50 years. It's like, well, how does it exist then? Like, what are we?
Yeah,
What are we
aliens.
doing?
Aliens. Yeah, we could get fuck, dude. There's so much to talk about. Okay, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
So yeah, there's the two halves, and they get them together, and then they're going to upload it into like a mobile,
One satellite, and it'll
yeah.
just virus to all the other satellites.
Right. And so John Cena is working for this Euro guy who's like wealthier than God, basically. Cypher is there because Cypher had been caught by Mr. Nobody, but then they had, even before the movie started, they'd intercepted the plane, essentially crashed the plane, took Cypher out. We don't know. Like, they're looking kind of for Mr. Nobody, but like, he
Yeah.
might be dead. Like, he just leaves
I
some
doubt
clues
it,
that
but yeah.
Ramsey, he's not dead,
Yeah.
but like he could be. But Ramsey is like finding clues about GPS coordinates and whatever, and they're going to different places and they find the wreckage and whatever.
Plane. Yeah.
And so Cypher, we were talking about, how Cypher and Jacob get together. They're both with the rich guy, and by the end, she betrays Jacob and maybe betrays the rich guy or just like teams up with the rich guy. I don't know. Exactly unclear, but like I don't think that rich guy's coming back, I would imagine. Just Cypher doing her thing.
Yeah, I don't. He was a good mini boss, right? Like that's
Just like a weasel. He's just
Yeah,
the money.
exactly.
Like he's not actual muscle, he's not the brains, he's just the money,
nope,
right? So
nope, yeah.
So yeah, and they have to stop that. That's the plot.
But see, you could describe it. It wasn't like accountability and maybe there's a nuclear football but there's also the sun and we don't know what. It's like it's direct. There's a direct.
So the one thing I will say
thing.
about Fate and accountability is that at least it's not clear, but it's novel. It's new. This is just like, oh yeah, they want to take over the world.
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, that's fine. I wanted a cool movie, not like
I think the issue that I have, the reason I bring that up is because it's the same thing. It's every movie. It's just like, oh, they want to take over the world. Like it's every Bond movie.
Pinky and the Brain, man. That's what you got.
The only thing I could think of last night while watching the movie is we had done our last full episode about the preview and our guesses and everything.
Yes.
Do you know Occam's razor?
No, what is it? Tell me.
Occam's razor is like when there's like many different possibilities of how a thing could happen. the simplest is often the one that's right.
Okay.
We had talked about like how is Han back? Is he a robot? Like we talked about with the Wall Street
Yes.
Journal reporter. Like,
Yeah.
oh, is he a roboticon? Is he back from Etion? Is he evil now?
Time travel.
And it's just like,
did he time travel back? Yeah.
no, he just crawled out of the car.
Yeah, like Mr. Nobody just like faked it to make it look like his death, but he was fine. He just crawled out of the car and that was it.
And we were like, how is Jacob gonna, how is he gonna be in there? And what's the backstory? Just like he did a thing that maybe was bad, we thought it was bad, and then he goes away, and then he comes back. It's just like, oh yeah. So it's like the movie did not have anything complicating, mind blowing. Like, oh my god, can you believe that connection? It was just like, oh yeah.
But I think in that sense it was kind of good because like we expect so much chaos that the lowest common denominator was also still surprising. That
I don't know that it was surprising. It was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so the backstory, and we'll talk about the other thing, but like the big thing about Jacob is that Dom thinks at a point in this movie that Jacob sabotaged their father and killed their father on this racetrack. I'll talk about the racetrack.
Yes. Well, yes, we'll get to there. Yes.
And I leaned over to you in the movie. I'm like, oh, that didn't happen. I was like, that's how they're going to get in the family. It shouldn't be that obvious, I don't think. Because your whole fear last episode, and I'm not trying to take this down, because I enjoyed this movie, and I will see it again infinite times.
I loved it.
Your whole thing last time was like, the one thing I don't want is for Jacob to be in the family by the end of the movie. And like, not only is he in the family by the end of the movie, he's in the family, like, in this movie, like, in the final action scene. Like, he's in it for, like, a third of this movie.
But
there's no hesitancy.
I kind of was okay with it based on how they did it. And also, he kind of Brianed him to where I'm feeling like, at the end, Jacob may or may not be in the next movie, but he's gonna be part of the final Megazord to defeat whatever's the final boss in 11.
Oh, no, I think he's back. I think he's in 10 and 11. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think he's going anywhere, but I don't think he's going to be like a major, major part of the family yet.
I don't know. So the one thing we did not give credit to enough in the story was the role that Mia was going to play. Because Mia is what you find out that after Dom banishes Jacob, that Mia was in touch with him for a year, and then she lost track of him, and he went on did his own thing, right?
Yes.
But like Mia comes back because Brian's babysitting, which is just an easy,
Dude,
like, oh yeah, he's doing the most important thing he can do, be a father.
This was one of the craziest things that I said. I specifically said I wanted Brian to be babysitting.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they made him do, and that's awesome for me. I was like, that was the moment that I was like, I know that makes sense, but also, like, you gotta be listening. Like, Justin Lin, I know you're out there listening. Or somebody that is an intern for you is listening to this. Thank you for taking my babysitting advice. Or just thank you for coming up with babysitting too, because I really, really enjoyed that. That was exactly what I wanted Brian to be doing, so you guys nailed it.
We had talked about Mia being Jacob's sister as well, and we're like, maybe it's a stepsister or whatever. Who knows how they're all related? But it's just brother and sister, right? Like they're all Torettos.
There's 3 kids, yeah,
and just like Hattie and Owen and Deckard. It's just like Owen's just in the background of some shots, not really in the picture. But I don't think we really gave credit to Mia being able to convince Jacob that, like, it's not just the brother that hated him. It's the brother who hated him and banished him, but also the sister that he loved. And, like, they're together, right?
Yeah,
like, it's this whole thing. You said that Dom Brianed Jacob, but Dom also Brianed himself because he says, once upon a time or whatever, a guy gave me a 10-second car, and then he lets Jacob get away in his car. There's a lot of callbacks to the first movie in that particular way, and just... I don't think Jacob's going anywhere. I don't think that he's going to be, like, on par with, like, Dom or Hobbs or whoever.
Ramsey, even, right?
No. I think that level. I think that's second tier. I would say so.
So you think that next movie he's, like, integrally part of the family from the jump? Like, they're traveling with him. Because I think that this sets up that he let him go, that they, like, reconvene at some point next movie, and then 11, he's...
Maybe. I mean, it depends, because he's not at the barbecue at the end, but
that's what I'm saying, see?
All the Tokyo Drift guys are not going to be the next movie. Like, there's no way that they're like, hey, Sean, what else you got for us? Like, they're not going to stick around.
Yeah, okay, fair.
They could go either way, I think. Like, if they want to treat him kind of as, like, his own thing where they call in hired help, but also I think that the fact that he comes back to help them in the final sequence here, they have, like, a heart-to-heart, and, like, Dom forgives him and whatever, like... I think it's up to Jacob, but I would not be surprised. Like you leave Fast and Furious 4 and Giselle goes and does her own thing, right? Like, that whatever, and then they just call her in. But it's they call in everybody, right? Like they're
Yeah.
assembling the family there. So
We're meeting at the moments in the films where like everybody needs to be there. Like they might have been split up, but like at the beginning of a movie, it's like let's get everyone together. So you think
right,
that
because
he's gonna?
even this movie does that. Because
Yep,
like
yep.
Dom and Mia are or Dom and Letty are retired. They're living life, and she's anxious, and she's Brian. Like, did you get the comparison that like Brian, like he misses the bullets. Like Brian and Letty
Yeah,
are the same,
yeah.
and it's
The
Dom and Mia.
chaos.
It's a Toretto's that are just like, we're good. Let's just chill, right?
Yeah, they just want to live life. Yeah.
What we do not see before this movie starts is, Ramsey getting a beacon or Tej or Roman, probably not Roman, but one of them getting a beacon and them gathering each other and then finding them in this remote location. Like, that's what we don't have, but like, it's the same thing. Like, it's not like they're all just like in a clubhouse together, right? They're just like,
No, yeah.
hey, we're having a thing. We need help. Mr. Nobody needs us or
Because
whatever.
Mia and Brian are definitely separate. We would assume that Tej, Ramsey, and Roman are all separate,
Right.
and then Dom and Letty are in their bunker in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the woods somewhere in a
So I think the other
farm.
thing to keep in mind is that, like, if you have an asset like Jacob on your side, why wouldn't you use him? If you're
Yeah, I
trying to
think.
save the world, it's like, well, why not call in like the best help that we can have?
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be more like he's kind of doing his own mission type thing. He's on his own because he also is saving the world from different things, and then like you just call him in when you need him for an important part of it, not the whole time.
But I don't think he's doing his own things. I think he's a rogue agent, and this is what he was doing. It's not like he's also being called on by his own Mr. Nobody to be like, hey, we need help over here, we need help over here, whatever. It's just like, how can I make a buck?
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Like, I don't think we have a Hobbs and Shaw thing again here where it's like, oh, he's too big. Like, I think you bring him in to, like, have him, like, because again, he says to Dom in this movie, you don't turn your back on family. Like, I don't think that they would, like,
Yeah.
excise him or kick him out or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he's like kicked out. I'm just saying I don't think he's firmly like he's not the first guy you call.
Sure, no, but I mean, when you need to call 9 people or whatever.
Yeah, he's on the list for sure. You're pointing out a good thing that I was thinking about just generally about the movie last night is they left us lots of branches that I think was missing from some of the previous movies.
Like, what do you mean?
There's so many different ways the storyline can go now. Just like the writers and Justin Lin Vin put in so many branches of things that can happen from here. There was like so many little outlets and like things that they put in that you're like, oh, Elle and Han could be like a whole thing, and Jacob could be gone or he could come back.
Oh,
And
so you just mean, okay, because I think narratively, like, what the plot is, there's only one thing. It's we got to get Cypher. Like, I think
yes,
what you're saying
obviously.
is true, but I think that's more like spin-off kind of things or story dynamics, but like, and which is good, which is the right thing to do when there's only 2 movies left. It's like, we need to narrow the focus, but I do agree with you that there are new team-ups, kind of, and it does kind of feel
Yes.
like, at the end of 8, like, Roman and Tej bickering over Ramsey, like, that just seems subtle. Like, they're all just friends now, right? So, like, they're like, hey, that maybe didn't work, or we don't want whatever, right? So,
Yeah, I think that they like kind of squashed that this needed to be like a relationship, and they're like, okay, they're just like a crew of friends, which is better for me. That's what I want anyway. Like, they don't need to be in a relationship. We already have Mia and Brian. We already have Dom and Letty. We already had Han and Giselle. Like, we don't need any more of that. Like, there doesn't need to be any more. Like, they can just be a squad of badass people now. Like, we have enough relationships. We're good. We have kids now. Everything. So stop.
because what the movie also does, and we talked about this a little bit at the theater after we were over, is that, like, in the flashback. So let's talk about the biggest issue with the movie, the number one issue with the movie.
What? Go ahead. Oh yeah.
The
Go ahead.
flashback is in 1989.
Yes. Keep going.
And
Since
so
you
the first
pointed
movie
this
comes
out.
out in 2001.
Yep.
But when they do the Tokyo Drift retcon, the first retcon, because they also retcon again Tokyo Drift here.
Yes,
Or
yes,
they
they
retcon
do.
the retcon, I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
When they retcon the franchise and the timeline and whatever, they essentially move the first 2 movies up 3 years. So that instead of like, it's the same thing that we see, but instead of taking place in 2001, it takes place in 2004, which isn't a huge difference. I mean, technology, songs, whatever, it's fun. What, clothing, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
But 1989, either 12 or 15 years earlier,
Yes.
Then a movie wherein Mia is a high school senior.
Yes.
Dom is probably 24, Letty like 22. We've talked about this a lot, right?
We've talked about their ages a lot in the first movie, yeah.
So in 1989, because they cut to this racetrack, because what was exciting was that the movie opens with
With the
Dom's
racetrack.
dad racing. We're
Yep.
like, oh, cool, okay. And then you see a guy who's very clearly
Well, first of all,
Dom,
wait.
Vin Diesel, whatever.
The movie opened with dinosaurs, is what you
Well,
need to say.
no, not really. That was only in IMAX. If you don't see it in IMAX, that's not there.
Okay. And sorry, guys. In IMAX, there was like a 6-minute Jurassic World dinosaur thing that started, and we're like, "Is this our fucking crossover?" But go ahead. Sorry to derail you. Go ahead.
It starts in 1989, and I'm like, cool, okay. So I'm like, maybe this feels too early, but maybe Dom was like, no, actually, it doesn't feel too early. Maybe Dom was like 9 when his dad died. We don't know.
Yeah.
Although it does kind of seem like they passed on the stuff to him, so it may be a little early, whatever. And then we see a guy who
Is
thinking about-
22.
thinking about Brian's podcast, like maybe is 15, 16, but also he beats Kenny Linder, who we'll talk about, and goes to like grown-ass adult prison. So like he's at least 18 here, right?
At the bare minimum, minimum, he's 18.
Essentially, he looks the age of Vin Diesel in the first movie.
Yes.
They also in the flashbacks have young Jacob, but we also have a young Mia, a young Letty,
Vince?
a young Jesse, a young Vince, a young Hector, and it's all awesome. And they're all like 12 years or 10 years too old. Like if this flashback said 1999, no issues, amazing. This is the greatest. 1989, you're off by a decade.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, and when you pointed it out, we laughed about it for a very, very long time. They're wildly off. Yes. And the thing is, it's so stupid. Change one number. This is so dumb. Like, why did you make it this thing? Like,
Because I understand to a certain extent, like we just talked about Bumblebee a couple weeks ago, right? And like
Yeah.
the first Transformers movie comes out in 2007, I think. So it's like it's a handful of years after the Fast and Furious, but like not radically different, right? Then they do Bumblebee in the 80s. It's like, oh, different aesthetic, whatever. It's kind of a cool thing.
yep.
But it's not like, hey, this is Sam Witwicky. He's 15 years old. It's like, well, no, he can't be 15 years old because he's like 18 and this was 20 years ago. Like, we can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
here it's like, we know, we have a concrete history. We have a record. We have an immutable ledger of how old these people are in 2001 or even 2004, whatever. But giving them the benefit of the doubt, 2001, you can't do 1989 and have them be the same age.
No. And, I mean, we know that, like, the movies don't give a fuck about time, right? Like, we've established that.
Right.
But even still, it's like, this is such an easy fix because we don't have a date that is like Dom's not like my dad died when I was 9. You know what I mean? Like in the first one
No,
where it's
right,
like, oh, we have
exactly.
to like fix it. It's like, no, there's no rules that said you couldn't have made this 99 to make it fit. So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't
Because you
make any
do
sense.
99 and that's it. Because essentially, even if you have it set in 2001, Dom beats Kenny Linder halfway to death, right? He becomes a janitor. We
Yeah.
talked about that. He goes to prison for 2 years, comes out, and that's basically the timeline of the first movie.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
Done.
perfect.
Easy.
Like we don't get like the whole thing like Dom just got out of prison, but at the same time he already did say he did 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter, right? It could be like 6 months later, right? Like you can play like that's believable. Yep, I'm with you. Okay.
Because like I saw 1999, I'm like, cool, okay. And then as soon as I see the ages, my mind is racing. I'm like, did that say 89? And I'm trying to make the math work. I'm like, none of this works. It's so dumb. That's the only actual issue I have with this movie.
Yep.
Like
I
I have other
agree.
things that like I wish was this or I wish was that or whatever. But this is just like, no. What? No. No.
And all you need to do is change the 8 to a 9 on this title card, right? Like,
Yep.
or don't put a date. Like, it didn't even matter what date. Whatever. Yeah.
Although I did, in terms of date, going to the dinosaur thing, the Jurassic Park thing, because you're like, is this the beginning of the movie? It's going to say 65 million years later, and there's a
nailed
charger
it,
that comes
dude.
in. And it does say 65 million years later, but it's just the dinosaur. It's like the Jurassic World. I'm just like, oh, but like it says the thing. So, my brain was going, it was working on the dates even back then, even before the movie started.
You
Like
were
I had the
doing
dates
good.
locked down.
Yeah, I wish we could have bet that in Vegas. You nailed the date dead on. Like when it
That's-
came up,
that's the
I was like,
dinosaur
"Did you
date,
see
man."
this? Did you
Yeah.
see this already? Like what the fuck?"
So what we also get in the flashback of note to us is a young Leo and young Santos, names confirmed.
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up. Another reason why I think that we specifically talk about this a lot, Leo and Santos, or Rico and Tego, or Tego and Santos. What are their names? No, they put the fucking names on the screen. They're like, it's Leo and Santos. Those are their names.
Yep.
Here we go. We're good. Because Dom goes to prison, And in prison, he works in a garage, apparently. Like, that's his, like, it's like shop class
Oh
for
yeah, no,
high
I
school.
laughed out loud. Like, I mean, I laughed out loud a lot in this movie. But like, I don't know that they were trying to make it funny when like he's in prison, he goes out of his cell, like to go to work for the day or whatever, and then they just cut to a garage, and I just laughed. I'm like, this can't be real. Like, okay,
He's in
but yeah,
shop class, yeah. It was weird, but that's where he apparently meets Leo and Santos
hmm
because they're in jail together because they blew up a bank, which they were like, oh, we got pulled over because we're brown.
yeah, driving while brown, but also we blew up a bank. But that's not why we got arrested. That's not why we got pulled over.
Pulled
We got pulled over
over.
because we were brown, but then we also blew up a bank.
Yeah. And they're bickering just like they always are. Excellent part of the movie. I really, really enjoyed that. There was a lot of tiny, fun tidbit jokes, throwback things that I really enjoyed in this. But yes, that was one of my favorites. I agree.
And young Santos is played by Ozuna, who's he's like a Latin pop star. Like, there's a handful of people that they added to this movie, like Cardi B, who we'll talk about,
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, this is going to be the global appeal or whatever. And so Santos is played by Ozuna, who I don't know, but I know that he was like, it was like a big deal. It was newsworthy, at least, when he joined the franchise. So, that was him.
Yeah, and we have a long history of this, like you just said, that like we like adding people that maybe we don't know as pop stars, but are pop stars globally or in a
Sure.
different market, and I think that's awesome. So cool, yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, I knew Ozuna's name, I didn't recognize him when I saw him in the theater, but when you pointed it out, I was like, oh, that's cool. It makes sense. Yeah.
The other addition, and I don't know his name. I'm gonna look up his name, the character name. Michael Rooker is in this too. He plays Buddy. Okay. In F9, the Fast Saga, which I guess is the title, even though in the credits it just says F9. So I think we're gonna call it F9.
But our
like Michael
tickets say
Rooker,
F9 no colon
yeah,
the Fast
exactly.
Saga.
Even though, so on Letterboxd it's just F9. On IMDb it's F9 colon the Fast Saga, whatever. But Michael Rooker, I don't know if you recognized him, the guy who was working on Garage. He's the grease monkey for Dom's dad, basically.
Yes,
But
yes, yes,
he's
yes.
Yondu from Guardians of the
Yep,
Galaxy.
yep.
I want to say he was in early episodes. Yeah, he's Daryl's brother in the early episodes of The Walking Dead. He plays Merle. Like, he's been in a bunch of stuff, and it was cool. Like, I don't know that we're going to go back to 1999, please.
But it was a
but,
great person to cast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was really cool. I recognized him as Zondu immediately. There's like a lot of flashbacks back to 1989 or 1987,
Yeah.
whatever. He's in a lot of them. So like after like the second or third one, Rachel's like, "Is that Zondu?" Like, yeah, that's him. Yeah, it was really awesome. It was a great like little cameo. Not a big part. He's not joining the family, but he was involved. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a cam. It's just like he's just a character actor just playing
Yeah,
a part.
that's what I
Like
mean.
it's a
Yeah.
recognizable face, but it's not it's not going to draw attention away. It works. It just works.
It works. That's another thing that I'm glad that, and we said that earlier, that like they added people very sparingly in a better way that like didn't feel like the family got like huge,
Right.
and that was really really nice. Like all these kind of character actors that like came in and like played a small role, it's like if we want them to come back, they could be in like another flashback, but they don't have to be. I don't feel one way or the other about it. It was really really nice.
The next thing I have in my notes, because I just wrote down a bunch of things today and kind of put them chronologically, because I also do want to say that in the flashbacks, going back a step, in the flashbacks we probably spent like 20 to 30 minutes in 1989. So like
Yeah,
in a
overall.
it's maybe 15-20% of the movie I'd say is in 1989, which is kind of sizable. Like, and it works back. Like, I think that works better cutting back and forth there than like when there's the final sequence of the magnets, which we'll talk about, cutting to space. Because
Yeah.
like it's like, oh my god, like I get like it's doing the action, like giving you a chance to breathe, but it's just like,
Yeah.
oh no, I don't want to be in space. Like I know this is important, but like I want to see the action. Like it felt like that was jarring. Like here, like there's actually a couple like even really nice like transitions going from like modern day to 89.
Yep.
It all worked really well as opposed to like, hey, there's two different sides of the action thing. Like let's go to space now. It's like, well, I don't want to.
Do you think that because of how substantial the 80s flashbacks were, that there's now a possibility for prequels?
I think that's the big takeaway. I don't know if it's going to be prequels, maybe, but I think there's a lot more opportunity for different stories to tell. I think this is what you were saying before about different dynamics, like with Han and
Branches.
Ellen, whatever.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
It's like if you want to do a movie with these actors, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
No.
Because I think this does a good job of like completing that story. Because there were questions about Dom's dad. We knew that Dom's dad died in the racetrack, right? We
Yep.
see it happen now. We
Know
wondered
how it happened, why it happened.
Yes. We know kind of, the financial issues or whatever. Once we knew Jacob, we're like, why is Jacob not in the family? Because, you don't turn your back on family. It's like, oh, that was answered too. So like, I think you could, I don't think you have to. There's still the outstanding question of who is Dom's mom. And I did not watch this yet, or I did not read it yet. I don't know if it's a video or text, but like Vin Diesel's talking about, he's not going to answer it, but like somebody's asking about his mom. I don't know if we're going to I would imagine maybe find out, but like, I don't know that we need to go back in time, but this definitely leaves open the possibility that we can if we want to.
You know what this feels like now that we're talking about it? This was Justin Lin's perfect Fast and Furious top us for exactly what he does and the thing that we pitch all the time, which is he just sprinkled a lot of cool shit out there, and he'll see how we respond to it, and then go from there. Like, he gave himself, like, lots of options, and he's like, let's see what they really liked, what they maybe didn't like so much, and he just did it in a storyline that's like, this movie was such fan service that it feels like he's like, okay, like, for the next two, we can do whatever we want here, but we'll just do whatever they want. And, like, he gave himself more outs in that way, too. Not even so much branches, but just, like, options for us to check to be like, oh, we really like the flashback stuff, and he could be like, okay, cool, more of that. We really liked Elle, and he's like, cool, we can keep her in or get rid of her. It doesn't you know what I mean? Like, I think it was more for him as well, or like, the audience and their response.
I was going to not correct you, but I was going to gently correct you. Well, correct you that like the director doesn't necessarily do that, especially like a thing like this. But this is for the first time a Fast and Furious movie that he wrote. He co-wrote it with Daniel Casey, but like he's never written before. So like we were talking about in previous episodes, Chris Morgan, who wrote most of these,
left to go to
Hobbs and Shaw, right?
Yeah.
Especially like when you're like, oh, like Justin Lin Sprinkles, like he's not really like, I mean, he has input and like he can like decide how to tell that story, but the script kind of, it just is the script, especially like in a big studio movie like this. But when he is actually in there writing this with Daniel Casey, it's like, oh, okay. Because it's also based on an idea by him or a story by him and Daniel Casey and Alfredo Botello, who he's worked with on Star Trek Beyond and stuff before too. So this is the first time I think that like his actual, what he wants to do. I think this movie is the closest to the I don't know exactly if this is 100% correct to say, but I think this is the closest movie in a Fast and Furious thing to the story he wanted to tell that we're doing. Like, I think, like he didn't write Tokyo Drift. I think Tokyo Drift, like he decided what it looked like and how it felt and everything. Like in the Wall Street Journal thing, he's like, I wanted to bring Han back because after I left, they fucked with him basically, right? So
yes. So maybe he wasn't doing these things, but he has a real grasp on the story and the fans and what we want.
All I'm saying is that it's not just him. It's the team. It's the creative team.
Yeah. Okay. So when I say him, I don't mean him specifically, but I say like the building people, the people that build it.
Because I'm not saying that to correct you, but also just people who don't necessarily like who are listening, who like don't know how movies work. Yeah, it's just like there's a lot of people, like there's producers, like there's executive producer, people just like throw money at it, they just like have a credit, but there's actual producers who like go in and do the work and do like scouting and like do some casting and do this and do that and whatever, and like there's different levels to all that. And so like this is not like on a very small movie, like a movie like Finishing the Game or Better Luck Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's way more like one dude, but even then it's not one dude, but it's way closer to being one dude's like idea of like what to do. Because it's just like, we're going to go do this movie. But like here, especially when it's like a $300 million budget or whatever, it's and like
Vin Diesel's a producer
ensemble. Yeah. So the fact that like ever any of these movies, not just Fast and Furious movies, but like any huge blockbuster movie is like good is kind of a miracle, because it almost shouldn't, because there's like too many
making
cooks
a camel,
in everything.
Like the what was it? Parks and Rec, like making a camel type situation. Like if you have too many people doing it, you wind up.
A camel's what, a horse by committee or whatever. Horses on by committee. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I think you're right that I think whether it's Justin Lin or before Chris Morgan or Daniel Casey here or Vin Diesel or whoever, they are doing that thing where it's just like, let's just try a bunch of stuff and see what people like. And they've confirmed that Cardi, like even before the movie really came out here, they confirmed that Cardi's coming back for 10, or at least a future movie, right? And like, if people love Anna and Han together, I don't want to have Anna and Han spin-offs. I'd rather have a Han and Giselle spin-off, but...
Who's Anna?
Elle. Anna's the actress. Anna Sawai, so I just mix them up.
They're not like a couple, though. They're like a...
No, but they're...
Like brother, sister, father, son, and like... I mean, like parent. It's more like a guardian and a...
I mean, it's Lone Wolf and Cub.
Lone wolf and cub. That's perfect. Yes, it's way more so that than like you could see that like he loved Giselle. He was, and then he found this little girl. He's like, I'm gonna take care of her, not like I'm grooming her to be my wife later.
Right, yeah, no, because he was stealing from her parents who designed this device to, like, destroy, that could destroy the world. As he's stealing from them, the parents get killed in a car bomb. At the same time, like, people come to steal from them. The same thing that Han's doing, and Han saves this girl, and we don't really see from A to Z, but, like, it seems like he raises her because they're still close.
Yes, exactly. And he's training her.
Yes, lives with him or whatever, but, like, yes.
Oh, you know what? We were just watching that movie Abduction with Taylor Lautner, and that's exactly. They just. That's what I was thinking of.
So here's another timeline snafu. So Tokyo Drift retcon to take place in like 2013-ish, right? Because like that's when Fast and Furious 6 comes out. But this is really kind of 2020. So like everything we see in Tokyo Drift and all this with Han is the last like overspan of 7 years. I mean, again, is a ton of time. But...
So if she's like 7 in the thing, she should be 14
no,
now.
I think she's like
10.
She's probably 10 or 12 in the flashback, yeah, and she's like 18, 19 now, yeah.
Okay, that kind of works. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm okay with that math. That math does not bother me like the 1989 math does. Like that's just like she's, you know, like a early teen or maybe preteen, and now she's like a young adult essentially, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
Actually, I wonder how old Anna Sawai is in real life. She is, oh Jesus, 29. Okay, so okay, cool. Never mind. Let's talk about Han. So Han's back, and we were wrong. No one knew that he was back.
Nobody knew that he was back. That's what I was saying to Rachel today, that like Dom was very surprised that he was back.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that did know that he wasn't dead was Mr. Nobody.
Right, which is super shitty.
Yeah, I know. I
didn't think about that till just now, but that is real shitty.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about. Like, he couldn't have told Dom. You know what? You know what I'm thinking now? That the big bad has to be Mr. Nobody, dude.
Very possible.
Because think, he got Jacob going, he got Dom going, he killed Han but didn't kill Han, had Han working for him. It has to be.
We're talking about Cypher teaming up with Etion, but Cypher could just like Mr.
Because we've never like confirmed Mr. Nobody. Like, I mean, he was pitched as a good guy, but like
no, but I don't even think he's a good guy because he's just neutral. Like he's as neutral as you can get.
Okay, so now we have this plane crash where he's like disappeared, but that's how they meet up with Jacob. What if he was trying to get like Jacob to kill the family or the family to kill Jacob, and he's just plotting all this?
Well, I think that's part of like what's backfiring is that he's not, for whatever reason, not expecting the team back up, but like he's accidentally creating a super family that he's gonna have to take down.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that that's it. With him not being in this movie, and you know what? He and Etion could team up because he had this weird transmission. He could be running Etion 2. That could be like his company, whatever. I'm thinking that that's what we're building to, brother.
Very possible. I like it better than anything I have.
It will be the ultimate heel turn, right? Like, we've had Mr. Nobody here. He built the team all together. He's trying to catch Cypher. Maybe Cypher's the good guy trying to bring him down.
I agree that it would be a big reveal. I think Dom turning against the family is a bigger one, but that had a reason. This is just like, oh no, we just thought he was we thought he was on our side and he's not. Like, we just like misread this.
I mean, well, there'll obviously be like, some flowery stuff around it of like what he's trying to ultimately do, but I'm saying that's kind of what I'm feeling this is building to right now that I'm thinking about it.
I think you're right. The way that they find Han is that it's a little dumb. So this movie is dumb.
It's dumb. But it's awesome. Yes. Heather described it perfectly. It's dumb fun. It really is.
She texted me, so she said she was reading, she's listening to NPR, and NPR says, quote, "You're sitting there feeling your brain cells die." But then the next line is, "But I was happy to let them die." So, it's one of those kind of things where I'm just like, oh, this is dumb, but like I'm into it. So on the day that Han dies, quote unquote dies, he sends Dom a postcard of Mexico, but it's stamped Tokyo.
Yeah. Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. How do you get this Mexican postcard in Tokyo? I have was he just carrying this with, whatever.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I guess.
Yeah.
So then 7 years later, so Dom goes over there, right? Dom goes over there to collect Han's body. We don't know what he collects. Not a body.
Apparently not. Yeah.
Charred remains. Who knows? Mr. Nobody faked it, right? We have
Well,
whatever.
it was kind of looked like there was like kind of like a dummy in the car or something. I don't know. I don't know if that was supposed to be Han getting out of the car or there was something in the car that looked like Han.
Also, here's another thing that this
What?
undermines. Deckard is the most decorated killer ever to walk. Basically, they're bringing him in that he's tougher than God.
Yeah.
He doesn't check to make sure this guy that I guess he doesn't really care. I guess the explanation is he doesn't really care. Like, he's going after Dom, right? And he's just hurting Dom's friend, and like, even if he just like cripples Han, like, I guess he doesn't need to know that Han dies, but like, you would think that he would like double tap him or something, right? Like, just be like, make sure that he's dead.
He's like he's essentially a Navy SEAL, right? So it's like, isn't it like, make sure, we always say you don't see the body. Isn't like that their motto kind of like make sure you see the body, like just finish the job type situation? Yes, you're right.
So a little weird. So anyway, at the end of Tokyo Drift, and then we see it again in 7 in the flashback, not the flashbacks, but when we see Sean again, like later that day, but like wildly older.
I can't believe we've now seen this shot in 3 different movies.
Yeah.
Han has been undeaded twice now. He's resurrected twice. Like, Jesus got 1, Han's gotten 2.
Yeah. Well, it's like Jesus died. They're like, no. Here's a new book of the Bible where it's like other stuff that you didn't know he did when he was still alive. Like, here's some more. Like, you know how like the Bible goes from like he's born to he's 32 and he's gonna die next year.
Yeah, it's like that middle part. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what's in between. It's like, okay, cool. Anyway, and Mary Magdalene's played by Gal Gadot.
That was presumptuous. I think Gal's a proper lady. Mary
No, I'm
Magdalene
just saying that like that's Jesus's lady.
I mean, yes, but okay. Fair.
Anyway.
Catholic school.
I'm not blaspheming. Anyway,
I was worried that you were blaspheming about Gal, not about
no,
Mary Magdalene.
I'm just saying that like Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I'm not saying that Gal's a whore. I'm just saying that like
I know. I'm just
Jesus' bottom dollar girl, whatever. Anyway, neither here nor there. So Dom flies to Tokyo, collects a body, gets a picture of Gal and the chain, right? Which we find in this movie. There are 2 chains. Jacob and Dom both have one.
Yes, there's a second chain.
It's modeled after a church's cross in Mexico.
That Han has a picture of on the postcard.
Yes. So Dom flies to Tokyo or whatever, right? Comes back.
Also, there was 3 chains because his dad had one in the car too.
Yeah. So they just all had them.
They all had them. That was part of the family, but not Mia apparently. Maybe she had one too.
No, it's just a boys thing. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway,
okay.
Dom does this thing.
Yes.
7 or 8 years later, is like, oh, by the way, I got a postcard from Han the day he died. Why bring this up now?
I don't know. Who gave him the postcard? I don't remember.
He just had it. Like, he and Letty had it, like, in their house.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, sure, whatever. So then Letty and Mia go to Tokyo, and this is cool. Like, I do think this is another one of your branches. Setting up, like, this is the female spin-off, this is the female Fast and Furious, because like, there's a lot of women kicking ass, because it's not only them, but it's also Elle, and it's also Helen Mirren driving later, and it's also Cypher as the big villain, and it's Ramsey driving for the first time, and everything, right? So me and Letty go to Tokyo, and they're just eating dinner.
They're essentially eating at like a noodle bar, kind of like what Giselle and Han were at.
Which, by the way, Mike leaned over, he's like, that's way... So before you got to the bar yesterday, I was teasing Mike because we talked about a thing on here. We were going to do that movie Tampopo last lap with Kyle.
Yes.
Mike was on Kyle's podcast one time, and Mike was like, I've been really getting into ramen. And Kyle's like, oh, tell me more. And Mike's just like, oh, no, it's like cup of noodles. And it was the funniest. Like, Mike wasn't trying to be funny, but it's just like, you don't say you're getting into ramen. And like, it's like, oh, I'm really getting into burgers. It's like, oh, hey, tell me about it. It's like, yeah, go to McDonald's every once. Like, it's like, no, that's... Anyway, so, okay. Or I buy frozen White Castle burgers, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I was talking to Mike. I was teasing him about that because I think I was telling Duke about that yesterday at the bar. So they're in Tokyo and they get the food, and Mike leans over. He's like, "That's not my kind of ramen."
I heard him say ramen, and I didn't know what he was talking about. But yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. So anyway, so they're having dinner. They're just like hanging out. They're like, basically, Dom's like, figure this out. Like, go see if you can find something out.
He fully sends them on their own mission. There's he was just like, go take care of this, come back with answers or whatever.
And so Letty sees a Mexican flag.
Yep.
And the only reason, I guess, why someone in Tokyo would have a Mexican flag in their window is because they're Han and this is his Mexico.
Yes, not because they're happy. I mean, in a gigantic multicultural city like Tokyo, there cannot be any actual Mexicans there by any means or any chance.
No, of course not.
And this happens to be right in view of the ramen place.
The restaurant they're at, yeah. I mean,
so
they might
have
been there for weeks. They might have been just like puttering around the city, having ramen everywhere. But it's also like Han's had that flag in his window for 7
years.
But also, he tells Sean this in Tokyo Drift, and like that's the memorable thing, like on the balcony above the soccer field, right? Like this is my Mexico. But I guess this is a speech that he has told everyone because Letty's like, you know what Han always used to say? It's like, no, he said that one time. To a different character.
Han must be like drinking and eating snacks all day and be like, man, these are my Mexico. And everybody's like, what are you talking about, dude?
So they go up, and coincidentally, there are bad guys there. And this is also when Elle shows up.
Yes,
and then they get outside. And there's more bad guys outside, or, Letty tackles people outside. They follow them outside or whatever.
Yeah, she tackles a guy because somebody was going to stab Elle. So she's like protecting Elle. She like tackles a guy through the glass.
And then Han saves them with like 4 perfectly placed sniper bullets or rifle bullets or whatever. Even though we talked about in Tokyo Drift, nobody has guns over there. But everybody in this movie has guns over there.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of knives and like ladle fighting. Mia hit the guy with the ladle.
Yes, which was cool. Which was funny. She picks it up. She's like, I just throw it at him. And then she takes like a pot or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how they find out that Han's alive. It's because they see a Mexican flag, and then he saves their life. So he was just like on a balcony, like waiting. None of it really makes sense.
Waiting for them to be nearly killed so he could shoot. Yeah, exactly.
When we saw the trailer for the first time, we were like, oh my God, Dom has a brother. Oh my God, Han is back. What are they going to say for the movie? It's like nothing. Like, can you imagine how cool it would have been? I mean, it would have been impossible, but how cool it would have been if they just
never mentioned Sun Kang
and he just shows up there.
I would have shit my pants.
I would have lost our goddamn minds. And in the second trailer, which I watched today for the first time, which spoils the hell out of the whole movie, they show him sniping the dude. So like you know that's him there too.
The second trailer starts with, we'll get to it, but the skyline
shot of the movie.
It's supposed to be kind of like a reveal. Yeah.
Because I was a little mad. And please don't take this the wrong way, Jason. But I was a little mad at Jason because Jason tweeted at us just like, oh, there's Brian's skyline of F9. Like, could this mean that Brian's back? And I was like, I don't want to know that, man. But then, like, when the second trailer begins with that, it's like, oh. Like, I wasn't mad at Jason. I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
That's the movie's fault. Like, that's just shitty marketing for literally spoiling every. Because, like, at the barbecue, you know that they're like, oh, we saved a seat for one more person. And then Mia's like, yeah, he's on his way. And then they cut out the street and the skyline pulls in.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. But like, we knew it was coming because you told us.
I didn't remember. I'm glad we got to that point. And again, another branch that they left open. Like, Brian could be back and the next movie could start at the barbecue, or he could go off babysitting again. Who the fuck knows?
I think if in 10 and 11, if Brian is not back but Mia is there, and I do want her to be there because I think Jordana Brewster deserves to be in these movies, they're going to need a different excuse than babysitting. Like, oh, he's babysitting again. It's like, no, that doesn't fly. Like, you can't. I mean, maybe because it's the most important job or whatever, but like, I don't know.
Maybe he's like coaching a soccer game or something.
Yeah.
He's with The Rock. He's his assistant coach.
So they bring Han back to America. And people are like, oh my God, you're alive.
They do it really well because Roman has like a very Roman reaction of it. Like,
they all react very well.
They all react very, very well. It's very realistic. They're like, he's like, you were dead. Like, we were looking for you. What the fuck happened?
And then I think it's this. I don't remember if it was this or like another thing that like we wanted answers about. But like, I think Tej is like, so like, yeah, or Roman, whatever. It was just like, you were in a car that exploded. And they're like, well, let's not talk about that now. And I yelled in the theater. I was like, no! Like,
don't stop.
We need that. You can't be like, because that's what we talked about. We're like, they're just not going to tell us. Like, you know, it's just like the same thing. Like when Brian goes to prison, you know, goes to Braga. And then he comes back and it's like, Dom, I got something. He's like, no, what you did is for you alone. It's like, no. He went there to give you information. You can't just tell him to keep the information. It's the same thing here. It's just like, but yeah, then he eventually says like, you know, Mr. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly. And he tells us, and they like show it, right? Like, Mr. Nobody hit him, and Mr. Nobody's like, I did a pretty shitty job on that one, because they obviously didn't mean to bring him back twice. So Mr. Nobody acknowledges that, like, his cover-up wasn't that good.
Ay. So speaking of Mr. Nobody, so Jacob gets banished because after Dom gets out of prison for beating Kenny Linder half to death, which you asked the question that I don't know, who called the cops? Because there's like 3 people there, or maybe 4. There's like Michael Rooker, Dom, Jacob, and Kenny Linder.
And they're bros. And they kill the only guy that's like against them. So who called the cops on them when there's nobody else at this racetrack? There's this fucking snake. It's fucking Yondu was ratting them out. He should have been exiled.
Very possible. He's the big bad.
He should have been exiled. Dom should have kicked him out of town, not Jacob. But we talk about this whole thing that like they figure out that there's like a leak in the fuel line, and I didn't really get this. Can you explain this to me? Like Dom's dad had financial problems, so he was trying
it's
to
basically
throw
it's
this
the Marcellus
race.
yeah, it's the Marcellus Wallace Butch thing from Pulp Fiction. Like in the 5th, your ass goes down. It's like you're who's supposed to win this race, but we're gonna bet against you, and you're going to lose.
That makes so much more sense. Okay.
Yeah. They don't fully explain that, but like it's just like that's what it is.
Okay. They're like rigging the gambling on it to make up for. Okay, that makes so much more sense to me. Thank you, sir.
I can't think of anything that could possibly be, because then we see like Dom. So this is also funny that like Dom's in his house watching his dad. Because like in the first movie, remember we talked about Dom's like I don't have the bullshit like the mortgage and whatever. Also, by the way, speaking of bullshit, nobody gets the fuck in this movie.
Do they not?
German guy says freaking, and I was just like, what? Really?
Was there no fuck? Really?
No fuck. I don't remember hearing a fuck unless I missed one. But
if
I was
on
the lookout for one. But Dom's in his house in the flashback and sees his dad on the phone basically being told lose the race.
Yeah.
Dom's dad closes the door. And I lean over to Mike. I'm like, that's some Godfather shit. Because like at the end of Godfather 1, the movie ends with Michael closing the door on Kay.
Yep.
And then, spoilers for the end of Godfather. And then spoilers for the end of Godfather 2. Like Godfather 2 basically ends with, again, there's a couple more scenes after this, but like him again closing the door on Kay. Different scenario, but just like, you're not in my life anymore.
Yeah.
And so here, Dom's dad closing the door on Dom. I was like, oh, that's some Godfather shit, man.
It is.
There's a crack in the line, and so when he's in prison,
line.
It's Leo and Santos saying something like that. The Dom's like, "Oh shit, my brother did it,"
because he realizes that Jacob was like the lead mechanic, essentially for some reason in the pit crew. Jacob was in on it with his dad, which is also very strange. That like, how does Dom's dad not include Dom on this? Like, you pick Jacob to be the one to help you throw the race, and like you don't let Dom in on it.
Although, no, you're right. I was thinking that, like, because Jacob didn't sabotage the dad, but the dad does say, Jacob, now, do it now, or whatever. So
Yes, he does.
I think they do bring it up. They mention it at some point.
Well, he says, like, yeah, dad, like, didn't trust you to be able to handle it, or something like that, or he knew you wouldn't, he knew you wouldn't do it, or something.
Yeah, because he's a little bitch.
Yeah, Jacob's calling Dom a little bitch, yeah. But, yeah, he does the fuel line thing. And then when Kenny Linder pins him, the car, because it has a fuel line leak, explodes.
Yep. So Dom comes out of prison, and he comes back, and he's like, look, we're going to race. I don't remember what happens if Jacob wins.
I think he says, I'll leave.
No, I think it's more like we're gonna talk some shit out or something like that. Maybe Dom's gonna leave. But if Dom wins, Jacob just keeps on driving and never comes back. So very clearly what happens, because both narratively and also just like chronologically, they race very Jesse and very Johnny Tran, where Jacob uses the Nas too soon.
Yep.
And Dom even says, I think, he doesn't say too soon junior, he just says too soon.
He says
and then
too
Dom
soon, yeah.
hits the Nas, wins the race, and then Jacob drives off.
And Jacob's like reactionary, like, no, was really good too. I really like that part of the movie.
Yeah.
He sells the no really bad. Oh, also, did you notice that Jacob was only driving Mustangs in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like his car.
I said American Muscle Man.
Dom got the Chargers and Jacob got the Mustang. You know what I mean? So like they were like, they each had their own like American muscle car to like know them by.
That was an RX-7 that Han was driving later, right?
It was a new Supra that was painted like his RX-7.
Okay, because I knew the coloring, but I didn't know the car, obviously. So okay,
yeah,
cool.
It was a new Supra, which is actually a nice touch and upgrade. Like the smart, all around, promotional wise, everything. Very, very cool.
So Jacob gets banished, and Jacob, I guess, either hangs around for like a year or doesn't go really off the radar because he's still in touch with Mia for a while, and then disappears. And this is where we find out later that he started working for Mr. Nobody as a good guy, ostensibly, and then became a rogue agent. And then that's where we leave him, or we find him in this movie, which is where he's trying to steal the Tesseract to help to make this rich German guy or whatever even more powerful.
I am so glad that they wrote in Jacob disappearing to not ruin our game that we're playing this lap.
Yeah.
That is, where's Jacob at? Because now we can fill in any blanks we want.
Yeah.
And it still works.
Yeah.
So, perfect. And we actually have, like, just, like, a little bit of clues. It's like, okay. And it starts, like, right at the beginning of the first one until now. Well, you could put in anything you... Because he's, like, on the lam and, like, on the run. Possibly working for Mr. Nobody at some point. So, any answer is still good. Perfect.
Yeah. We don't really have a reason why he goes rogue, other than, I guess, just a feeling of betrayal and abandonment by his family.
What do you mean? What are you meaning
like, why did he become a bad guy?
Against Mr. Nobody. Like, he's working for Mr. Nobody, then he goes rogue. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Nobody pissed him off. Maybe he figured out Mr. Nobody was the big bad.
Maybe.
Who knows? There's not a reason. They don't tell us why he went rogue, but it could be anything. I think we'll sort that out later.
I think the other really big thing to address in this movie, there's other things like, smaller things, and there's other things that are important in terms of the characters and everything, but like the other big part of this movie, when they actually have the completed Tesseract and they have Elle, because she is the key.
Yeah.
Because her parents designed the thing and they coded it to their DNA or whatever.
Yeah, she's the final piece, yep.
There is the sequence where they're in the moving van, which is both similar to the thing that was in Furious 7 a little bit, and also the thing that's sort of in Spy Racers, where they're just trying to do this global upload.
Convoy, yeah.
Yeah. This is where the magnets come into play. Like, the magnets is earlier with Ramsey driving the truck that has the magnet in it, but that's where they get the idea, and, like, all their cars have this magnet that can either attract or repel.
Yes.
And, like, I thought the magnet was going to be, like, a one thing.
Same.
But the fact that it's in every car, and the fact that it's, like, this well incorporated, I was like, this is really, actually really cool.
I agree with you. When I saw the magnets in the trailer, I thought it was going to be really lame, to be honest. I was like, that's why, like, when we were talking about it, we were like kind of like brushing over the magnets thing. But the use and the play of it and how they use it in situations like when Ramsey's driving and they're fighting in the back, and like the guy goes to pick up the gun, they're like, turn on the magnets, and like sucks it to the wall. And then they're like, turn off the magnets, and like drops it. I thought that was very well done. And you're right. The through line throughout made it feel much, much better than just like, oh, Dom pushes a car with a magnet once, and that's what we got.
Because, like, what also is cool about this, it's crazy. Like, this is not the the crazy thing, the over-the-top thing in this movie is them going to space, which happens at the same time, which we'll talk about. But, like,
yeah,
I don't think this is, like, insane. I mean, this is chaotic and damaging and whatever.
Yes.
It's, like, believable in a way that, like, these movies haven't been. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. And also, did you notice that this is, like, one of the first times that, like, every car that they're fucking up on the street doesn't have anyone in it? They're all, like, parked cars this time. It was, like, a lot more parked cars than usual. Like, normally they're just, like, demolishing people driving. This time, because it was magnets, all the cars were, like, stationary and parked, but they could just pull parked cars into shit.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, a lot less civilian casualties this time. I mean, still a lot of chaos, a lot of damage, but not as many civilian casualties.
And I did also lean over to you during the movie, and I was like, when we were doing our guesses last week of, like, most pedestrian deaths, I'm like, did either of us guess Ramsey? I don't think we did.
No.
I know I guessed Ramsey for something that was, I don't think it was this, for something that, like, wasn't likely going to be her, but, like, so I kind of thought Ramsey could do something, but this is just her, like, oh, I don't drive, and her accidentally, like, hitting the windshield wipers or whatever.
Yeah.
But then being like, yeah, she's pretty good at driving. I mean, she's, like, bad at turning, but, like, also it's a huge truck. Like, we would probably be bad at turning that gigantic ass truck with a huge magnet in the back, right? So, whatever.
I mean, I've driven box trucks, but yes, and you're driving a manual for the first time.
Brag.
I mean, well, like, my parents had, a bunch of truck
I get it.
so I would not have put in Rachel in a box truck to learn how to drive stick, right? Like, that's not the optimal thing that you want to do.
To learn how to drive, period.
Also true.
But yeah, so at the same time, while this is going on, because they're trying to stop an upload, like, that's what they're trying to do, and it's going to upload to one satellite, which is then going to, like, spiderweb to all the other satellites, and they're going to have global control, because, like, once it's out, it's sort of the decentralized thing. It's just like, you have to take down all the satellites, otherwise, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while this is going on, the Tokyo Drift guys, Sean and Twinkie, who no longer goes by Twinkie, we'll get to that joke in a second,
yeah,
and Earl are, like, dicking around in Germany for some reason. They're in Cologne, Germany. Yes. And they're building a rocket car, which was in the trailers, which we saw them playing with in the first one. We see the rocket car actually taking off in the second trailer. And Tej and Roman go to find them. I was like, oh, this is very cool that the second movie and the third movie are meeting.
Okay, yeah, because they don't really know each other. They've never met each other, right?
No, I don't know.
Because Dom goes back to Tokyo for Han's body,
which is another very funny joke in that scene, yes.
Yeah, but he doesn't bring Tej and Roman with him. It kind of is like on his own, so yeah, they wouldn't have known each other.
And also, like, when he goes to talk to Sean, the fact that Earl's there, also, where's Reiko? Like, why is Reiko not there? Maybe they couldn't get Keiko Kitagawa. Maybe she's just not around. But, like, it would have been cool to see her, too.
If Earl went to, like, engineering school to become a rocket scientist, Bow Wow, the artist formerly known as Twinkie, is now, like, a businessman, and Sean is a mechanic, then Reiko could just be, like, a businesswoman somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, she...
Sure. Because it doesn't need to be these guys. Like, it's these guys to make us be like, oh, shit, it's them from that movie, right? Like, it's that. Like, that's why they're here. I just think it would have been cool to also have Reiko. Because, like, Earl...
It would have been awesome, yeah.
In the cutout version, the actual movie, like, not worrying about the deleted scenes, which are great. Again, if you've not seen the Tokyo Drift deleted scenes, go see those.
Yeah.
Earl is not that much more important or seen or visible than Reiko. So just to have one and not the other, I don't know. Whatever. But yes. I just wanted her there, too. It would have been cool. Like, even if she, like, FaceTimes in or something. You know? I don't know. Who knows?
She could come back in the next one.
So they're there. Roman and Tej show up. They mentioned something about Twinkie. He's like, nobody calls me that anymore. And Tej goes, people ever call it? Like, you ever went by that name or whatever? It's just very funny. Like, why would you ever be okay with that? Which also goes to Wes's IMDb point about it shouldn't have been Twinkie because he's a black guy and not an Asian dude. Like, the racism of that name, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be, again, we talked about, like, Oreo or whatever, right? Like, just like an equally shitty
The slur doesn't even work in the direction that it's meant to work in.
Yeah. But it's funny that, like, you know, in a more woke world, which is good that we exist in this world, like, oh, yeah, nobody calls me Twinkie anymore. It's like, well, why would anybody ever call you? Like, why would you ever be okay with that?
I loved it. And I love that Justin Lin kind of, like, addressed it, right? Like, that's him addressing it to the audience. He's like, look, like, we got it. We knew that we called him Twinkie, and we probably shouldn't have. But, like, that was an old movie, and we don't do it anymore. Cool. Like, everybody is on the same page here. Let's move along.
And the other very funny meme joke is that, which is, again, what works at the end of Tokyo Drift, where it says he knows says Han's family, or whatever, right? Like, he says the right name to get in. And so Roman or Tej or whatever is like, Dominic Toretto sent us. And Earl's just like, who's Dominic Toretto? Like, it just, because that's, again, it's like, oh, that's Hobbs. And Ramsey's like, oh, I feel safe now. It's like, bitch, you don't know who Hobbs is. Like, why are you relieved?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It
makes perfect sense because Sean knows who Dom is from, like, the race and from, like, I came to get his chain and, like, Han would want you to have this. But, like, Earl doesn't fucking know who he is.
No.
Yeah.
And Twinkie at least met him once, right? Like, he might not know Dom's name. Earl, again, it goes to, like, show that Earl was not really in Tokyo Drift. Like, so it's just very funny.
It was awesome. It was
because it's the same thing. Like, people watching this movie who don't know these movies inside and out, they're like, well, who's this guy?
Exactly.
Like, you might recognize Sean from, like, as the lead of Tokyo Drift. Yeah. Or NCIS. And you also might know Bow Wow from just being Bow Wow. But, like, there's no reason really in this world to the very casual Fast and Furious fan who's like, oh, I'll go see a movie, why they would know Jason Tobin or know Earl that was in the movie. You know what I mean? So it's funny that he's the one who's like, wait, who are you talking about? So
I agree.
So they're building a rocket car, and they put Roman and Tej in the rocket car because while they're stopping the upload...
If it makes the upload to the satellite, then it'll affect all the other satellites. So they have to get to that satellite and destroy it first so it can't...
I think the original plan is just to hack the satellite. It has to be in-person hacking.
That kind of makes sense, yeah.
And then they realize that they don't have enough time, which is when they decide to ram it.
Yeah.
And so early in the movie... And this is a scene that you had stepped out to go to the bathroom really quick. You picked a good time to go.
Rachel said that too. Yeah, I'd like the perfect time to go.
Roman was talking to Tej and Ramsey about... He's
how
like,
he
you
just
ever
got
think
shot
about...
a bunch.
Yeah. That I have holes all through this and I'm fine. That we've done all these missions and there's not a scratch in any of us. And Tej is like, are you saying what I think you're saying? And he's like, yeah, I think we're invincible. And Tej, like, buys into it a little bit. And Ramsey's like, you guys can't be serious about this. And Tej, like, keeps going along. And then is eventually like... Or you could just be the dumbest man alive or whatever.
Yeah, you're just, like, dumb lucky, yeah.
So they're talking about it, right? About invincibility. And, like, that's the kind of thing in a movie that's not Fast and Furious where people actually die and there's actually stakes. Like, that's the kind of conversation. That's essentially like, oh, you know, today's the last day I'm working, tomorrow begins my retirement. Like, that guy dies, right? Like, it's like you're talking about invincibility because those characters get killed. So when they're in space and they bring this conversation back up, it's like, okay, now they're going to die. They're going to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, we might really lose Tej and Roman here. And I was like, this might be like, holy shit, like a big-ass ending.
But no, because the International Space Station finds them and just saves them. So
yeah, they're just totally fine. They were
cool.
No big deal.
We're like, none of these people are ever going to die.
No.
Until maybe 11, right?
Yeah. I think we're going to get like a nice sacrifice to save someone else situation. I think we got to kill Vin. Like, we got to kill Dom. Dom got to give his life up for like his kid Brian, or maybe Mia.
I mean, it's the Endgame thing. Again, spoilers for Endgame if you have not seen it yet, if you're the one person that's not seen it. But like, Cap dies and Tony dies and Widow dies. But like, there's still a Black Widow movie because they're like, oh yeah, this movie took place 5 years ago. It's like, well, fuck, okay, sure, whatever.
Exactly.
You can do another Dominic Toretto movie or whatever. Which, by the way, there's supposedly like a Dom spin-off happening or whatever. Which, I don't know, whatever.
Isn't every movie a Dom spin-off movie?
Exactly. So anyway,
unless this is the hint for the prequel stuffs, that the Dom spin-off is going to be more of that actor and like less Vin Diesel.
Which would be fine. I mean, I don't think, like, we don't really get a sense of that actor. I don't think he's anything compared to young Dewey's on Young Rock.
I agree.
But
100%.
he was fine. He looked the part, right? He was good.
I thought that he looked nothing like... I thought that he looked nothing like Vin Diesel, but I don't think that he was bad. I don't think that his acting was bad. It was harder to play, like, super charismatic when Dom's character is, like, stoic and you know what I mean. So, but no, he did very well.
One thing I do want to bring up is that when they're in space, when Roman and Tej get saved, like, why do they look like minions? Because they even make the joke that like the suits might puff up, but we'll be fine or whatever, right?
Yes.
And they reference minions. Earlier in the movie, there is like a 2-minute scene where they reference Star Wars at length.
Cypher is talking to Otto, the bad guy, like Jacob's
the wealthy
minion.
guy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
They have a full Star Wars conversation for 2 minutes. And we're just in the theater looking at Heather, who's wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Who ostensibly, by all intents and purposes, hates these movies and loves Star Wars.
Yes!
Even though she did say that she likes it and she tweeted that it was stupid fun, right? So
Yeah. And they're just, like, totally talking about Star Wars the whole time. Like, you're more like a Chewbacca.
Well, he's like, I'm Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, you're not. And I thought she was going to make like an insult or whatever, which she kind of, whatever. But then he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm more like Han Solo. There's already a Han Solo in this universe because Han's last name, at least on a passport or whatever, is Soul City, Soul-O, Solo.
Yes.
So that's another kind of inside joke there. And she goes, no, you're Yoda. You're a puppet with someone's hand up their ass.
Yeah.
But they talk about it for a while, because even earlier he's like, get me an X-Wing, get me whatever, I don't give a shit.
X-Wing, yeah, exactly. Millennium Falcon, yep.
I said to you, and I did that thing with my hands I saw you do with Rachel too, where it's like, okay, so Hobbs and Shaw talks about Game of Thrones for way too long.
Yep.
And these movies now talk about Star Wars for way too long. But that means, not that it was ever going to, but like, I don't think you can cross over with Star Wars, because like Star Wars is a piece of fiction in this world.
Yes, it exists and it is fiction. And the characters know about it.
Right. Wild. But I was just like, oh, sure, okay, yeah. Star Wars.
Star Wars, cool.
But let's talk about Cypher. So Cypher is in a glass box for a while, breaks out.
She's in a glass box of emotion.
Betrays Jacob, or has Otto betray Jacob. Looks like she dies because she's supposedly flying this drone, but it's just a drone. It's like a remote-controlled drone. And then just runs out of a hangar at the end of the movie again, just like, I'm off to do the next movie.
Yep. I mean, they set it up so, she's like, it looks like Dom throws the convoy tanker into the air as he jumps out of it at her to blow her up. And she's like, oh, flight simulator's over. Just turns it off. Shuts
and
the
someone
laptop
after we saw the movie was like, did you think, I think they were joking, but they're like, did you think that she actually died? I'm like, no. Like, there was, like, it's, like, that's how Mosey Jaconda blew up, but, like, Mosey Jaconda is, like, not even the big bad in 6, right? Like, Mosey Jaconda is, like, or 7. He's an afterthought to Deckard, which we talked about. It's just like, well, why, there's too much going on in that movie, right? There's two different things altogether. You don't just kill off, like, who is now clearly the big bad until, clearly, your reveal of Mr. Nobody as the big bad comes true. You don't just kill her off, like, basically off screen. Like, Dom has to, like, stab her or something, right? Like, he has to, like, physically with his hands kill her. Yeah.
With a wrench. Exactly.
I do want to say, bringing up Deckard, not a lot of Shaw in this movie. Like they're like Helen Mirren drives in 9. It's like cool, and she's in one scene.
It actually was really funny because that was the moment that Rachel went to the bathroom and she just totally missed Helen Mirren in the movie. She just missed like the beginning to the end of that scene, and she's like, "What happened?" I was like, "Helen Mirren was in it. She was just driving." She was like, "Okay." And then there was no more Helen Mirren, so she just actively deleted Helen Mirren from the movie.
So I saw similar to that, but I saw the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire in a theater with a friend, right?
Okay.
And that's a very slow, like it's a period piece. It's a gay like a lesbian drama, and it's a very very slow movie for like an hour and a half. My friend goes to the bathroom, and in the 5 minutes she's gone, there's like this wild musical number, like they sing some amazing on the beach, and the woman's like the portrait that she draws of the woman on fire, like her dress catches on fire, and then my friend comes back. I'm like, you missed like the entire movie. Like you almost couldn't pick a worse like 5 minutes than this. Because it's like this very slow thing, like a beautiful movie. It's like an amazing movie. There's this like really unique like campfire fire sing-along thing that is unlike anything. And then the literal titular woman on fire, a lady on fire. I'm just like, oh, you picked the worst possible time. So like it's different than like Rachel just being like, oh yeah, Helen Mirren or whatever. Like it's a fun scene, but it's just like that ultimately doesn't really matter. Like
no,
this is just like, oh no, you missed the movie. So just funny.
This is like, so Helen Mirren, there's like some kind of party. Helen Mirren steals a necklace.
Mm-hmm.
She comes outside. She's looking for a car to steal because there's all these valet cars because all the valets run in to see what's happening inside. And she grabs the keys. And as she grabs the keys, who's there but Dom Toretto? Yeah. And he's like, oh, like
says her name. Says something about Queenie.
Queenie.
She turns around. Yep.
Queenie. I knew it was you or something. And she's like, hey, if you drive for me here, I'll cut you in 15%. And he's like, I don't steal anymore. She's like, well, I still do. And then gets in the car.
Because she's essentially running London. Because he goes there to find more information about Jacob. Because he goes to see Michael Rooker. And he's like, I don't know. All I know is he's in London. Even though we saw him in this movie in Mexico. So, like, maybe his base of operations is in London. But, like, he's not necessarily in London, even though he is in London. Whatever. Anyway, he goes over there and finds Queenie. And then Queenie, like, confirms that, like, she was buying or selling something from Jacob, right?
Yes. And first she's like, are you looking for one of my sons? And he's like, no, not really. And she's like, okay, good.
Good, because they're not in this movie anyway.
Yeah, because they're not in this movie anyway. Neither is Hattie. And yeah, he confirms it like Jacob's. And she's like, actually, the guy was kind of like your height and kind of looked like you. Like,
we're like,
is this your cousin? And he's like, it's my brother.
She's like, oh no, wow, okay.
And then she's like, pull the e-brake for me, would you, dear? And he does, and then she drifts.
Which is also in the trailer, which again spoils that, but yes.
Yeah, and then a bunch of cops kind of wreck into each other. She reverses down an alleyway. Also, she has like these like really cool like leopard print like high heels on the whole time, and they keep showing her feet as she's like shifting and driving, and it's really really cool. And yeah, it was just awesome. I loved Helen Mirren in it, but it's really cool that she transcends the Chris Morgan grumpiness against the Fast and the Furious. Like she's like she's just like, it's Helen Mirren, dude. So like everybody's like, yeah, if we can get her in 10, no problem. And like we'll give her one scene just because she's fucking Helen Mirren, of course. And then like she can be in Hobbs and Shaw, and nobody's like, oh, like she picked one over the, like it doesn't matter. It's Helen Mirren.
Yeah, it's like she shouldn't be in these movies anyway. The fact that she like is willing to do this, like let her do whatever she wants.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like that.
At one point in this movie, they're like, there's nobody who could help us, and Mike, or something like that. And Mike says to me, he's like, who's left? And I'm like, well, Hobbs and Shaw. Like they're not here, but they could be here. Like there's people you can call on. And then like a minute later, they're like, we're gonna have to do this ourselves. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what it was gonna be all along. That's fine. So then after the movie ends, credits roll, and then mid-credit scene, we see a cloaked figure in a hoodie, face shrouded, beating the hell out of a heavy bag.
Yeah.
Hood comes down. Deckard Shaw, and I went nuts, and Heather went nuts, and it's like, okay, cool, like we knew they're coming back. There's no world where they don't come back, but like, cool. And there's just a guy, he unzips the heavy bag, and there's just a dude in there. He's just like pummeling for information, even though he has the information. He's just beating the shit out of this guy. Knock on the door, opens the door, and Han walks in, and it's like, oh shit, cut to black, rest of the credits, nothing else. I'm thinking,
go ahead.
In that room, like I love Han. Deckard kicks the shit out of Han. Especially Deckard mid-workout, like loosened up, warmed up, like...
Han's not the fighter.
He's the chameleon.
Oh, man, you brought up a great point. Can I sidestep for a second here? I am glad we were talking a lot about how it was annoying that Ramsey came in and Tej was a hacker and now Ramsey's a hacker, so we just have
Yep.
two hackers.
Yep.
This movie did a great point to be like, nope, Tej is the physics guy.
Well, so they changed it because in 5, we need somebody with circuits. No, he was circuits, I think, right? Because he was originally circuits. And
like
then
kind of like a
hacker.
mild engineer type situation.
Yes. Then he became the hacker like Ramsey. And then you're like, he's the physics guy. But then in space, Roman more specifically says, you're the numbers guy.
Which is kind of physics, kind of math guy. But yes, he's now like the number, because he was like, when he was in space, he was like, oh, we need to go this fast. And then the other thing, like at the beginning of the movie, when they're like dodging the mines, they're like, how fast do you have to go? He's like, blast radius, speed. Yeah, what does that mean? Very good Roman part. By the way, you laughed at Roman a lot in this movie.
Roman's great in this movie. Yeah.
It was the perfect, right? It was the right amount of Roman for you?
I maybe even feel like to your theory of like, they do what people want and they don't do what people like. I'm just like too much Roman. Dial him back a little bit, right? Like,
yep. So yes, so he has now established himself that Tej is more like the physics engineer guy again, as opposed to the hacker, because we have Ramsey, and that's awesome. Good. Thank you for like putting him in his category of character that you can pick out of the board game box, right? Like that's what we need.
I don't even know that Tej touches a computer in this movie. Like he does, like when there's like the magnet that like closing things to like fuck with Roman, like he's eating out of a bowl and they turn on the magnet and like a spoon something gets fucked.
That was funny. Awesome. That was an awesome point.
When like it's Ramsey trying to figure out the GPS coordinates that, you know, Mr. Nobody left, and then when they're doing the thing in London, is it London or wherever they are? She's like at the cafe, she's on the computer there, and like Roman's doing his own thing, right? So like it's like they made a conscious decision, I think, to your point, like he's not the computer guy. Like we're not doing that.
We don't need two hackers.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
And if like Ramsey is like a super hacker that was about to take over the world, then just like let her be the hacker part. We're good. Yeah. And it's cool that Tej has now had all these evolutions of like different things that he does, but it works, right? And it's like but thank you for giving us that everybody has their own role as opposed to just like redundancy over and over again.
Decker's in the credits. Han walks in, cut to black. So what do we think? I mean, this is the way to cross it over. So I do think that there's a certain... The tagline for this movie, one of the taglines was justice is coming. Justice doesn't happen in this movie.
No.
There's no justice. It's just that Han was not dead. So maybe it's like justice isn't needed, but justice did not happen. Justice is still coming. Like... Okay, so comparing, this is not a great comparison to make, but like 2016, Donald Trump runs on Make America Great Again. 2020, Donald Trump runs on Make America Great Again. You can't make it, you did it already. You already talked about, you proved like for the last 4 years that like you made America Great Again, like you keep America great, worse phrase, but like I get it. Like you're like, cool, I did the thing. You can't be like, justice is coming, and then for F10 be like, justice is coming. It's like, no.
It has to be justice is here. And I think that...
and then F11 is justice that was justice.
That was justice, yeah. Previously on Justice.
Yeah. And it's just, we are your friends. And that's how we tap on Zac Efron. Because it's the Justice song, We Are Your Friends.
Oh, very good. This is the thing. I don't know. So I wanted to talk to you about this because if we have Deckard show up in the credits here with Han, my first inclination was that Han would go join Hobbs and Shaw and become like the third part of their team with Hattie. Maybe
Hobbs and Shaw and Han, yes. Mm-hmm.
Hobbs and Shaw and Han.
And Lou or Solo, yeah.
And maybe we get like a Hattie Han kind of ship. Like relationship because
no, because Hattie's with Hobbs.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so something along these lines. But the thing we have to remember is that Chris Morgan is writing Hobbs and Shaw, and Justin Lin is with Fast and the Furious. So we can't send Han to Hobbs and Shaw because he's Justin Lin's boy, and Justin Lin's like, I'm back for the next 3. So like these are mine.
And Han's back because I'm back is basically what he said.
Exactly. Like, so it's not like sending him off to go work on the other ones.
Yeah.
No, it more so means that Deckard is coming back to the original one. And they're just like, maybe Vin Diesel just keeps pushing The Rock off his ledge, right? Like, just like...
Well, I think, I mean, I thought, so when there's the knock on the door, I was like, oh, that's Hobbs. Like, I don't know why Hobbs would be knocking or whatever, but I'm like, oh, that's Hobbs. And then so it's Han. I was like, that's maybe the only thing in the movie that I was legitimately surprised by. I was excited by Deckard revealing himself, but I was not surprised by that.
Yeah.
I was surprised by Han being at the door because it's like, oh, shit, okay.
But also, Han doesn't want justice for himself because he was in on it with Mr. Nobody knowing that he wasn't going to die.
Yeah, there's a certain thing where, like, yeah, this guy tried to kill me, but he didn't kill me. And, like...
It was also part of a grand plan anyways.
There's the rationality of, like, well, we did kill his brother, so, like, I'd rather he didn't try to kill me, but, like, I understand why he tried, right?
Yeah.
But I did feel like the one thing I think was really missing, I think there was a lack of Shaw. And, like, I think there's a lack of Hobbs. I think if The Rock was in this, I think he probably would have overwhelmed it. But I think because Queenie was here, because Deckard has been in 7 and 8, because now we have Hattie, because we've had Owen, who is alive.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many Shaws running around. And 8, yeah. There are so many Shaws running around. You need help. I don't know. Like, I get wanting to save the reveal or save the crossover. I understand that. But it just felt like there was such an omission. Like, the lack of Shaw was my biggest, like, oh, I kind of, like, I don't know how you do it.
You don't.
But I wish there was more.
I think we would have had another problem, which would have been like, oh, there's too much happening. There's too many people that you have to share screen time with. Because if you add Shaw, you're right. You have to add Hobbs now. You can't just, like, leave The Rock out of it because you'd be like, where's The Rock at? And at that point, there's too many people. Ultimately, the separation of Hobbs and Shaw and the family was a good move for both of them, unless we want 4-hour movies, which we wouldn't complain about. Justin Lin, if you're listening, just put them all back together. Give us, like, long, with intermissions in the middle. That's fine. I'll do it. Yes, there would have been a screen time issue. You couldn't have told. It would have been more chaotic. It would have felt a lot like 8, just too much happening. And you would lose, like, some of the nuance stuff that we got in this one.
Because I do think if you don't do the flashback, you could probably add in Hobbs and Shaw. But I think that because you have to devote, like, 20% of the movie to the flashback, and there's so much other stuff going on, and like I was saying, it still kind of feels jarring when you go to space or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it.
And you're bringing Han back, so that would have had to, like, cut into that, too. It feels like it wouldn't have been as much as a thing. Man, just because Jason Statham is so great in these, just because The Rock is so great in these, yes, I feel your like lack of it, but I also think practically it wouldn't work.
While we're on the subject of Hobbs and Shaw, I do want to mention a couple crossover type characters. So Stasiak is here, which was very exciting. I'm sure no one in the theater, except for, like, the diehards, remembered him. I mean, even he's in 2 movies, right? He's in 4 and 7, 4 and 6.
Yes. Yeah.
But, like, nobody knows Stasiak. I mean, he's only recognizable because of his, like, incredibly fucked up nose, which is very funny.
Yes.
I was like, oh, he's there Dinkley, because they call him in because they need help, or they need a favor, or they need, like, gear or whatever. Like, I think he's kind of like, they would normally get help from Mr. Nobody, but like,
he's lost.
He's not around, right? So they tap on the FBI or whatever, right?
Yep.
And then the other one, this universe's version of Madam M is Cardi B.
Which is fucking awesome. And we talked about it in the, like, the hype episode, that, like, I was thinking she was just going to be, like, Cardi showing up. She's
as Cardi,
like,
yes.
So when I saw, like, the party that Helen Mirren steals the necklace from, I was like, oh, this is where we get Cardi, because she's gonna be, like, at this party, and it's gonna be kind of like a Ronda Rousey, where she's just, like, a guest at a party and, like, dressed up. Or no.
And similarly, there's the when Dom goes to Otto's house, which is like an embassy. And it's like a Madame M style, like, mega mansion. Yes. And there's like 100 women, beautiful women, all dressed in white. Not a single dude to be seen. All dancing cars. Outside in slow motion.
Around cars. Very exotic.
I'm like, oh,
cars.
Maybe this is Cardi too. I don't know.
Same. That's what I thought too.
No, it's from that scene, Dom gets arrested for attempted murder on foreign soil because it's an embassy or whatever. And Interpol like takes him away.
He's like fighting Jakob at the bar there. Yeah.
And Interpol takes him away, and they get into the truck, and they take off their helmets, and it's Cardi and a team of, like, beautiful, badass women. And it's just like, oh. So she's like, because Madame M has a whole team of, like, a brothel, not brothel in, like, the sexual sense, but just, like, a harem of women who are, like, helping her. And here, Cardi's the same thing.
Which is awesome. And, again, another branch. She could definitely hang out with Ramsey, Letty, and Mia here. Helen Mirren, Queenie. Like, she could be part of this. And she says, like, Dom is like, is Queenie treating you well?
I did not read the email. Wes messaged us, because we were talking to a couple different people today. We talked to Wes, talked to Justin, talked to a couple different people, right? Wes said that Dom refers to her as someone's sister. And I don't remember who it is.
I don't either.
But there are deeper ties, because in that scene, Mike leans over to me. He's like, "Is that Cardi B?" And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Okay, because I'm old and I don't know." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, you got it though." Yes.
Like Dom's like, is Queenie treating you well?
Dom says that to her, or she says that to him?
Dom says that to her
Okay.
because Dom sent her to London, and Cardi references like, yeah, we've come a long way since we were stealing gasoline in the Dominican. Something, something, something. So she was there apparently in 4 with them stealing gas in the Dominican.
Maybe she's Leora Santos' sister, possibly.
I think he said like you're Leo's sister. I think so. I don't remember.
We'll find out in the mailbag. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get to the mailbag.
Her name in this is Leysa, Leysa. The only other notes that I have, we talked about Brian and his skyline, who, sure, final shot in the movie after the barbecue. There's a nice thing about Letty saying to baby Brian, over there is the first time I met your mom, who's smiling down at you in heaven, because they're at 1327, they're rebuilding.
God in this movie, by the way.
There's what?
There was like references to God and like heaven and things that like don't really feel like they've ever been in the Fast and the Furious. Like we had the cross, right? In the Fast and the Furious.
Dom is a Christ figure, and there's the cross, and they get married
and
in like
they
a
say
Christian
grace
or Catholic church or whatever. Yeah,
but like they mentioned God like a couple times in this movie, like as in like the big G God, right? Not like whatever. So I was like, oh wow, like we got somebody got reborn here that we needed.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the thing that like, you know, why do so many old people go to churches? Like, because they're at the end of their life and they want to either like atone for the sins of their life and then be like, oh yeah, no, I'm ready for you, man. Like here we go. Like let's do it now. I'm here now. Let's do it, right?
Exactly.
Or if they don't, they just like they want to be at peace and they want to just like feel more comfortable or whatever, right? So like so maybe in that sense, they're like, any one of these missions could kill us. Like, we got to get right with our maker right now because, like, we could get killed at any point. Like, it's better if we go up there than down there or whatever, right? So
yeah, I think so.
Especially when my only other note in this movie is that Dom sacrifices himself. He, like, closes the door and fights, like, 20 dudes.
Yeah.
And then pulls on these 2 huge chains to, like, collapse this structure. Then he falls, like, 100 feet into water. And he has this whole, like, flashback to 1989.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is Dom dying. And then we cut back to modern day, and Letty jumps down to save him and whatever. But it's like, oh.
We just see Letty pulling him out, and then they just wake up on a table. It was like a video game restart.
Do you have any other notes? Because we have a bunch of emails to read that I'm sure will remind us of things, or people who have either caught other things or have more time to think about it. Anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
No, I think I got out all of the important things I was thinking for the past 12 to 17 hours.
I don't think this is anybody's first episode. Maybe it is. I don't know. If you've made it this far, congratulations. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com, if you want to give us money. We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me. We normally read these emails before we talk about the movie, but, you know.
We wanted to get right into it today. Yeah.
Yes. If you want to email in your thoughts, family@cageclub.me. We are going to sort of separate church and state a little bit. I'll keep saying that every single time, but like we're not going to spoil F9 in every episode, but I think we're going to have a chunk of each episode. Like when we talk about our next full episode is going to be about Fast and Furious number 4, because our guest for that is going to see that movie this weekend, because of course, why would you not, right? If you're going to be a guest on our show and you're able to see the movie, you're going to see the movie.
Yep.
So there will be like chunks in the episode, but like you can safely listen to every episode, be like, okay, here's where we're talking about F9 or whatever. So like if you want to email in, we'll have like a separate part of the mailbag or something where we're talking about F9. So like keep sharing your thoughts. We want to hear them. I did not read any of these emails. There's a bunch of them. We'll go through it. But if you want to email in, family@cageclub.me.
Yes.
I want to say though, Joe.
What?
2 new patrons since we last recorded.
No way, really?
New Canadian $13.50 patron, $10 tier, Michael McGann. So Michael McGann emailed in a previous time, and he sends a full email as well. And Michael also did a pick for the lap, and he picked something for this lap, for lap 9, which I will not spoil. We'll read, Michael, we're going to read your full email on the next episode, because this is only about F9, but he sent a very nice email, so we'll talk about that.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Welcome aboard.
We also have a new $1 patron. Meet Jenny Benevento, which is a name I do not recognize. But welcome, Jenny. And Jenny's the first $1 patron in a while who has not canceled immediately. So shout out to Jenny.
Congrats, Jenny. No, that was not me ghost accounting it to make my joke not.
No, and Jenny's liked a couple of the Patreon posts. Like she's in it, right? So
good.
Jenny is
cool.
Yeah. Because I saw $1 patron, I was like, you motherfucker. And then like it was fine. It was good. We're fine.
Did I tell you my idea that I wanted to like get Rachel to set up like 5 different accounts and just keep like $1 patron canceling like in different names to see how long
I mean,
it took
all
you
that means is that you're taking $1 and making it like 91 cents or 70 cents or 80, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're giving Patreon a cut, and then you're giving half of the leftover to me. So, like, if that's a joke you want to do, cool, whatever. Go
No,
for
but
it.
I mean, like, I just wanted to see how long it would take, like, how many of these it would get before you'd be like, God damn it, this is like the 5th person today. And, like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I get
so
it.
you'd have really freaked out. Like, I could have kept doing it while you were, like, getting them and be like, damn, 2 people today. I'd be like, a 3rd person just did the same thing. I would just tell you about it because I thought it was funny and I don't want to annoy you anyways, so that was
Well,
just...
thank you. I mean, no, you do want to annoy me. Why are you saying you don't want to annoy me? That's like that's your one of your favorite things in life.
It is.
Drive me crazy.
True.
Because it's very easy. Okay. Wells writes an email that we're not going to read the whole thing. I just want to read one line from it.
Okay.
I'm a treat F9 like a Niners game. I want to tailgate and get high as angel tits before I walk in, and I'm going to yell at that screen. So, I think he's singing on Sunday.
That's the right thing to do. He does. He was bitching because Rachel was saying about how great it was. He was really mad that his friend waited to rent the theater until Sunday because he's going nuts knowing that we've all seen it, and he has to wait another 2 days.
It's very funny. It's wonderful.
Good luck. I'm glad. I hope you made it through. I'm sure that you enjoyed it.
Our first email, and this was sent before the movie came out, but it's from Monica Rolls. Monica, who had emailed in before. This subject line is F9 Greatest Hope. So this is before she saw the movie. This is her hope. So let's see if this comes true.
Okay.
Hello again, Fast and Forever family. We will not be able to see it until it's released on VOD, mainly because we have 2 very small children and no babysitter. But I want to share the one thing that would make us absolutely lose my shit if it happened during this movie. Imagine, if you will, an extended scene of John Cena putting on all his tactical gear and loading his weapons, getting ready to do some villain shit.
Okay.
Maybe he's base jumping into the Svalbard seed vault. Maybe he's attacking into a secret space station to steal the code that controls all of Earth's volcanoes. Maybe he's just forging a bunch of checks in Dom's name or whatever. That part doesn't matter. What does matter is that things take a turn, and it's starting to look bad for John Cena, and as he finds himself surrounded, and no magnet car can save him now. Except John Cena splays his fingers and waves a hand in front of his own face. This motion activates the enhanced cloaking technology in his tactical gear, and suddenly you can't see him. Anyway, I don't believe there's going to be any chance of this happening, as it would be way too on the nose, but professional wrestlers have done their signature moves during fights in the Fast franchise before, so my traitorous heart will still hold that hope that one day John Cena will literally be able to become invisible.
When we were watching the movie last night and John Cena's like fighting Dom, Rachel asked me like, what's like John Cena's like wrestling move that he could do in this fight scene. I made the "you can't see me" face, like the motion to her, and she's like, he can't do that. And I was like,
No.
I know.
He could
But it
do
would
it
have been
as
wonderful.
a joke to like, or Roman could do it to him or something.
Oh, that's a good play.
But it can't happen. Like, it can't be Roman Reigns doing his like elbow drop or whatever he does, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I also do want to remind people, this is not necessarily a Fast F9 thing, but the voting for the Hall of Fame is now open. If you have not voted yet, I think I linked directly in the podcast description, but also cageclub.me/bracket. We've got about 10 votes in so far already. It's going to be open for another close to a month, I think. So go do that thing, cageclub.me/bracket, vote on the Fast and Furious Hall of Fame. Our first email, which was sent basically before we even got out to the car, from Alex Ellenin, subject line number 9.
Okay. What's up, Alex?
Loved it. Mid-engine Hellcat Charger, sold. Rocket
Yeah.
Fiero, I'll take 2.
The Fiero was such a nice touch because it's like, I really felt like this was their kind of Back to the Future nod, right? It felt very DeLorean. It's like but the Fiero's kind of like a lame car.
Yeah.
So they you know what I mean? They like picked
Well,
like
didn't the DeLorean also suck? It was just because of the movie that like it became popular.
yeah, they were not reliable or good cars. Yeah.
Right. So it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's really great. I liked it a lot. I didn't want to skip over how much I enjoyed it. And, like, picking a Fiero... Like, they didn't make it like, oh, man, like, it's a fucking Charger rocket. You know? Like, they, like, purposely picked something that's like, this is dumb, but now it's hilarious and fun.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Good choice.
After the movie's over, we leave the theater. We go outside and say our goodbyes. You come into my car with your friend Adam, sits in the back seat silently. So if you listen to that last episode, Adam's in the back seat like 4 feet, like 3 feet
Giggling
away from us.
sometimes.
Just Yeah. Rachel goes her own way or whatever because she's like walking. I'm like, Rachel, you gotta say goodbye. She's like, bye, and then she leaves. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she just wanted to go sit by herself. So fine.
Which is fine. I understand it. I wouldn't want to be around us either.
Yep.
Even though Adam, when we finished recording, he's like, you guys are so cute. I'm like, I know. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, okay, cool. I have I brought my laptop into the bar, into the movie theater. I'm like, I'm going to have it. I'm going to edit it in the parking lot before my hour drive home. It's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, cool. I record on my iPhone, put it in the Dropbox. It's going to be good. I'm trying to hotspot my phone to my laptop and it's not working. I'm like, motherfuck. I'm like, what do I do?
You got it in your car though, right? Don't you got the
iPhone? No, I don't. Like I had that for free, like the promo from Chevy, but I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can find a McDonald's because they have Wi-Fi. And I'm like looking in the Wi-Fi's and there's like Xfinity and Optimum. I'm like, these might just be like, they might be actually like a hotspot, but also might just be like a dude's router, right? Like I don't want to connect to that. But then I see Target guest Wi-Fi and I'm like, ooh. So I drive to the Target, which is there, and I park like as close to as I can to the thing, and it connects, download the file, and I edit the file, and I upload the file, and I put it on Patreon. And so like we had got out of the movie at like 9:50-ish, yeah. And we had recorded, and like you had basically left by like 10:10, right?
Yeah.
So then like I spend like 5 or 10 minutes trying to connect to Wi-Fi, edit the thing in 5 minutes or whatever, and put it up.
Okay.
Almost immediately. And I also have like all these emails come in, mark as read, because I don't want to like be enticed to read them ahead of time, whatever.
Or spoil anything accidentally. Yeah, I get it.
Alex, again, the first one there, comment just says, finally, I've been waiting for like 45 minutes. So I respond, I'm like, hey man, blame my phone and bless Target Wi-Fi. So he liked that. But okay. So I was like, cool. Then Haley comments, she says, OMG, yes, doing stock take at work and listening to this, which was cool.
Yeah, because Haley's been telling me, so Haley, Jake, and Emerson had all seen it before, and they were like hype on it. So it was, they've been holding it in, and they didn't spoil anything for us, and I was very, very thankful to them. So go ahead.
So Haley was excited. She listened to the little shorty that we put out last night. Then Michael McGann, new patron, Michael McGann says, just listen, got me even more excited to see the movie, which is very cool. So very cool. Because I don't expect people to actually comment on the Patreon stuff because, like, it's just there to, like, put it out into the world. Like, go there if you need it. But, like, I don't expect people to comment on it. But, like, to get 3 comments was, like, cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So then, a couple hours later, Alex sends another email, a longer email, that just says, whew, man, what a relief. After waiting an extra 15 months, I was honestly a little nervous it wouldn't live up to the hype I was feeling internally. But I don't know if I've ever been as satisfied walking out of a movie theater as I was tonight. Like Joe mentioned on the shorty, the bonus, there was a lot of fan service and not one of them felt over the top. I enjoyed every single moment of this movie.
Yeah. I feel the same way, dude. I know a lot of people see movies multiple times, like, and people were like, oh man, I went to go see Star Wars 4 times in the theater, and that never made sense to me. This was literally the first movie in my life that I was like, I want to go see that again in theaters again. Like, as I walked out, I was like, cool. Yep, I could definitely see that again. That was just so much fun. So I'm right with you.
Says Dame Helen Mirren was great, and the Cardi B reveal had me rolling. Mrs. Alex said the space scenes were perfect and she wouldn't change a thing.
They were great, yeah.
I'm completely satisfied with the Jakob story and how it hadn't been discussed at all till now, and the flashback shots of Jesse and Vince felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I had spoiled for me was that Mr. Nobody had faked Han's death, but I had no more detail than that, and I honestly don't feel it ruined anything for me at all. Like, that's a bummer, but, like, again, that's not going to ruin this movie, because, like...
No.
If you had known that Han was back without us knowing, that's a bigger reveal. But just like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
like, that sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
No. It didn't, like, ruin the movie. You're not like, oh, man. Like, I mean, it had to be something... Like, we said this, lowest common denominator, right? Like, could be evil robot Han, but in reality, it's like... Oh, Mr. Nobody just faked it. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
My favorite part of the whole movie had to be the last shot of the skyline pulling into the driveway at 1327. It was such a payoff. I'm going to be riding this feeling for a couple days.
Same.
I kept thinking throughout the whole movie how much more fun this thing would be with Paul still here, and some part of me was expecting Cody Walker to show up as Brian somehow, but I'm okay he didn't. That last shot crushed it perfectly. The whole thing was just chef's kiss.
I agree. We're right there with you. I'm glad you liked it as much as we did, brother. As much as we all love these movies, we're also their toughest critics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for it to appease us generally as much as it did says a lot.
He says, this email is basically stream of consciousness, but I'm still processing everything. I may see it again this weekend. Alex.
I'm feeling the same way. Dude, we're connected right now, Alex. Me and you, bud.
I will not see it this weekend because I'm going out of town this weekend, but we will for sure see it. So we've said this before, but the structure for this lap is going to be Fast and Furious movie, then F9, then Pit Stop. So after we do Fast and Furious next week, next episode, because it's not next week, because this is going to come out immediately.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. We might do a bonus mailbag episode next week, which would be on the main feed. So if you're not a Patreon subscriber, you're going to get it anyway, because we don't read the mailbag behind the paywall. But this, we're recording on Friday the 25th, and I'm going to do everything in my power to edit and put it out tonight. So you're hearing it when you hear it, but it's not like there's going to be another full episode on Tuesday. This is Tuesday's episode early. So the next real episode, if we don't do a mailbag or if we do a mailbag, whatever, will be Fast and Furious number 4. And then after that, we're going to do F9 again with Mike Manzi and then Pit Stop. So I will, at the very latest, see this like in 10 days for the second time.
Yeah, exactly. One last thing on Alex's email. We mentioned it about the magnets, but the space was another thing that I was worried about. It like that could have also been really corny, and I think they did a really good job on it. I'm with him.
It was kind of corny, but like,
it was corny, but it could it didn't feel out of place. It gave us space while still being tongue in cheek, while still being important to the movie, not just like, oh, we sent this car to space for no reason, just because you guys wanted space.
Right.
It worked.
Yeah, you did say that in your fear, and I said I don't think it's going to happen, but you were worried that like they were going to like go to space in some dumb way or whatever. It's like, no, like there was actually a reason for them to go to space.
Yes, exactly.
No Elon, though. No Grimes, which was a disappointment. But also, I didn't have to see Elon, so that's fine.
Yeah, true.
Next email from Michael McGann, who had not seen the movie yet, but he just says, stoked for F9. Just listening to spoiler-free mini episodes got me even more stoked to see this movie. I was getting a little worried I'd miss F9 on the big screen, because where I live, just outside Toronto, movie theaters are still closed due to COVID.
Oh, that's
and after
right.
finding out it was not going to launch on streaming services, I kind of started to panic. I really didn't want my first viewing of the movie to be an illegal download of some bootleg copy off the internet, which I think has been like on the dark web, where I don't even know where these were.
China
but like,
came out, yeah.
Yeah, like for almost a month now. So the fact that that's my biggest thing. It's like we got here without having major things spoiled. We got here, I don't have to dodge spoilers anymore. I can just
No, same. Dude,
read
last
things.
night when we came home, we put the TV on, the trailer was playing, and I was like, oh, they're ruining everything. That's perfect. I had already seen the movie. Totally fine.
Yeah, man. My wife, Michael says, my wife suggested to see it at the local drive-in, see if the local drive-in had it playing, and thankfully they're finally showing new releases, and I was able to purchase tickets for the two of us this upcoming Monday night. My wife has never been to a drive-in. I've been to one. I haven't been to one since high school, so I'm going to pick up some snacks and a six-pack of Corona, and we're going to have a Fast and Furious date night.
That's so cute, and a great way to watch it. I think it would be a good drive-in movie, too. Yeah.
Who's seen a drive-in? Was it Wells?
Wells.
One of the people. Yeah, okay.
Wells goes to the drive-in because he says you can hotbox
You
the
get
car.
real high as hell. Yep, and shout out the screen. I mean, you can shout out the screen, I guess, in the movie theater, too, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael says, also on kind of an unrelated fun side note, while catching up on the podcast, I recently listened to an episode that was sponsored by Teradyne Armored Vehicles. Yes, one of my favorite sponsors. They build the truck that Hobbs drives in Fast 5. As mentioned by Joe, too, they're built in Newmarket, Ontario, which happens to be my hometown, and I currently live less than 10 minutes from their factory.
That's
I
really
see these
cool.
massive trucks driving around from time to time. It's pretty awesome to have one pulled up next to you at a stoplight. Next time I see one on the road, I'll snap a picture and send it in.
Please, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Still waiting on that royalty check to clear, but okay.
Our next email is from Justin Kleiman, who attaches to this a picture of his crew that he saw the movie with. Wes sent a picture to us of the crew he saw the movie with. We have a picture of our crew.
I think
family.
Those pictures say so much, and I didn't say it to you or Wes. Look at everyone's faces on these crew photos. Before they saw the movie and after they saw the movie, everybody is fucking geeked. Everybody that's a fan, their faces are just stoked, and you can't hide that or fake it. It was awesome.
It's the movies, it's the family, it's the post-COVID, it's all of it, right? So
everything. You just see like just joy on everyone's faces after the movie. It's perfect.
Subject line first, reactions.
Okay.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. I attached a picture of the family I saw it with. Everyone had a great time. I loved Roman in it basically being the voice of the audience. I've said before that I was against the space idea, but they did it perfect. I just loved everything about it.
Agreed. That's what we were just saying about Alex's email too. Yep, 100% with you, brother.
It says, my spoiler comments. No mention of Etion, so I guess Charlize is just going to keep evading them. Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe, yeah.
The weapon used to beat up the driver who killed Daddy Toretto wasn't a 3/4-inch ratchet, as stated in the first film, was an 8-inch pipe wrench, which, as a pipe fitter, was easy for me to recognize and makes very little sense why it's in an auto mechanic's toolbox. Sorry, that is a stupid continuity issue. Well, Justin, let me explain to you that in 1989, things looked a little different.
Apparently, things were all over the... I think this was in a Divergent path for all of our Loki fans out there.
Yeah.
That this was a little.
It's a variant. Yeah,
It's
this
a
is a variant
variant.
Dom.
It
Yep.
was a variant Dom. Yeah, this was a different timeline. Something got
Yeah.
muddied.
Mm-hmm.
Time police hadn't shown up yet. That's how it works.
Mr. Nobody setting up Han's death seemed like such an obvious way to do it. Why didn't any of us think of it? No idea. You're right.
Same.
Very
yeah,
obvious. Don't know.
No fucking idea, brother. I agree.
I still don't get if Deckard was in on Han's death. When they explained it, I thought he was, but it was one line of dialogue, so I didn't quite catch it. Then the ending, however, I guess was Han showing up to confront him? Question mark?
So they said that there was an agent that went rogue, and you kept saying that meant for sure Jacob, which it does. But they say Mr. Nobody got word that an agent went rogue and then kind of used Han to plant it. So I think they're talking about Shaw at that point. So there was just, because Shaw is an agent that goes rogue, right? So that makes sense
But
too.
I don't think he went rogue immediately preceding Furious 7. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. I got the sense that he was kind of his own thing, like a wild card, like a free agent for a while,
Forever.
but maybe not.
But maybe not, yes. So I'm with you, Justin. It's a little convoluted. They kind of said it, but we need to like watch it on VOD and kind of do, minute breakdown to like really pick up what's happening there.
Right. Well, it's the same thing like when we saw Hobbs and Shaw 3 times, and we're like, Owen's not even mentioned, and Melissa was like, no, they say Owen's name. I'm like, nah, I don't believe you. And then we're like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I love that they brought back Stasiak and his messed up nose. Yep, perfect.
Same.
Where was Tego? Too busy to be in the movie? If he's in Brooklyn doing a restaurant, does that mean that he and Leo broke up? I wish after he told Letty about the restaurant that she had hugged him and said, I'm sorry. That would have been nice. Also would have been a great time to bring back food all over the place. Yeah, food sucks. There's food all over the place, too. Oh my God, they are listening to us.
The Brooklyn restaurant, like a shot at Brooklyn hipsters was pretty funny. I like that. Cute joke at the end. It was well played. Oh, did you guys... Oh, we didn't talk about it. Did you hear all the forehead jokes at the end?
Yes. My forehead's thirsty and whatever, yeah, or something like that, right?
Yeah, they make a bunch of forehead jokes, and I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Okay, I'll let you move on. I can't wait to see this again, Justin. Yeah,
Same.
He says, Han conclusion, separate email. Our group also came to the conclusion of ... fuck The Rock. We want a Han and Shaw spinoff, which, again, would be cool, but it's a Justin Lin thing. Unless Justin Lin directs that movie, which I don't think he would, but maybe.
What if Justin Lin just is like, yo, Hobbs and Shaw, I want that too. Give me that. And just takes both of them, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like David Leitch is like, okay, Keanu's going to be in the next movie or whatever, basically. Not without saying it, but like, Hobbs and Shaw 2. We want a Keanu. He's my buddy from John Wick, from The Matrix. He's going to be in here. Yeah. And then Justin Lin's like, nah, it's good. That's mine. And also, Dwayne, you're not in this. It's like, what?
No. I'm not kicking out The Rock. I'm saying Justin Lin's like, I want all of this. And just like puts his arms out like, this is my kingdom. And just like takes everything back.
Yeah.
It's like, what you did, that was cute, and we appreciate it, but I got it from here, bud. We're good.
Next email from Jake Freer, F9. Hey, fellas, glad you finally got to watch Okay, stop bragging. We know you saw it a week early. We get it.
We heard.
It's all love. It's all love. I definitely agree it's better than 8, and they have 100% been listening to the pod. What'd you guys think of them being in orbit? I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I totally thought that it was really good. I wish we'd have got some of the space station scenes. I wonder if they shot them. Tej makes the comment at the end, like, oh, you spent like 2 weeks eating Snickers bars in the space station or whatever. Or like Tootsie Rolls because they're fat-free.
Yeah, the Snickers fat-free too, whatever.
Yeah. Wonder if they have scenes of like Roman and Tej just doing chaos in like a fake space station, Like just outtakes. Hide that big ass forehead. Like situation, you'd be like, damn, another fucking Tootsie Roll, like whatever.
I absolutely love that Han is back, and the backstory is pretty good, too. I'm glad Mia was involved in quite a bit of the movie and got some fight scenes. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
100%, dude. I was really nervous that Mia was just, like, coming back for a second because Brian was busy, so Mia had to be busy. But no, they totally washed that from us. It was good. She was back the whole time. She was the crux that brought Jacob back. She saves Jacob, right?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect. And we know that she was never on bad terms with Jacob. Like, she always loved her brother, which just makes her more, maternal and awesome for the character that she is. It was all great.
Leaving Brian at home with the kids instead of CGIing him in was the right call, I feel, and cutting away at the end when he pulls up to the barbecue was great. It made me tear up. Rachel told me she cried 3 times in the movie.
She did. Like a lot of the flashback Daddy Dom scenes really got her. So she was talking about this with Wells last night because she was saying about how much she cried The distinction is that she cried at parts that maybe weren't sad. They were like touching or emotional, but she cried at every one of those touching or there was like another one where like Dom is with baby Brian and he's like, like this is our life or something. She was like already crying at that one too. So yeah.
I did see her at one point pumping her fist in the air when Jacob came back to help. Because like the other thing, I don't know if we explicitly said, people know by now. They save Jacob because Jacob's in the thing and he gets turned on, he gets sabotaged, and they're about to kill him or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Mia saves him, and then Mia's like, "Go for it," and she lets him shuffle into Han's not RX-7
Supra.
And he drives off.
Well, they get to a point and they're like, he's like, Letty, like, come take the other side with me. And she's like, I can't get there. And Jacob's like, but I can.
Yeah. It's like, oh, shit. Like, you knew he was coming back, but also
yes.
Like, it's still cool.
It's still cool.
Yeah. I see Rachel, like, both arms pumping her fist. Like, yeah. So, it's great.
And, like, it's like, there's no way he's not coming to... Yes. It still worked. Still got us going.
And then Jake says, anyways, can't wait to hear the full episode of your guys' thoughts on the movie. So, yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
It'd be funny if you just, like, didn't get here. And it's just like, well...
Fuck that.
Next email from Cassie Wilson. Subject line F9. We haven't heard from Cassie in a while, but Cassie was our first patron, so shout out to Cassie.
Yeah, what's up, Cassie? How have you been?
Hey guys, Cassie here. I wanted to give my feedback on what I thought would be my first Fast movie to see at the theaters, but then Fast Fridays happened. I got to see all the films besides 2 and 8 on the big screen. Dream come true.
Awesome. Good for you, lady. That's awesome.
One take from F9 I have is I loved all the meta-ness. I normally am iffy about Tyrese jokes. Right there with you, Cassie. Yeah. But I loved all the joking about how they can't die. It was such a wink at all the jokes made in the series' expense, and I think it worked. Such a fun movie.
I agree. Yep, 100% with you. It was a lot of tasteful poking fun at itself. Yes, in a very good way. Like, it could get lame doing that, but no, I think it did it really well. Yeah.
Yeah. I also really liked all the flashbacks and thought young Dom and Jacob were great and looked very similar. I don't think the young Letty looked like Michelle at all, but overall, I really enjoyed all the answers we got. I need to watch that again. Like that's the scene I want to see in like slow motion because like I was like, okay, cool. So like as soon as I'm like, okay, that's young Letty, and then like I just looked away. Like I didn't take time to like actually take in what they looked like, but I'm like, okay, recognized her. Who else is here?
Yes.
And so I'm like, there's Vince. Oh, okay. And then I just like, but like I didn't spend the time, right? So.
And obviously Letty and Mia look so much alike that Rachel tapped me at one point and she's like, why do they keep cutting back to this girl? Who is it? And I was like, that one's Mia. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And then I was like, you were just like way lost. But okay, cool.
She says, glad to be back, Cassie. Well, glad to have you back, Cassie. I mean, you never went away. You've been here the whole time, so.
Yeah, exactly. You were just like Jacob. You just got exiled because we thought you killed our dad, but it's okay.
So now... I don't know how to respond to that. I'm just, okay, yes.
It was a joke. It was just a Fast 9 joke that didn't land. Cool.
We now have officially our first new rankings, including F9.
Ooh, who's it from?
Justin sends in revised rankings.
Ooh, I want to hear it.
So, I also redid mine, but I'm not going to do it on air. We'll do that later. Or we can, whatever. Number 10, bring in last place, Hobbs and Shaw, he says, not going to watch it again.
Wow. Okay. I thought it was fun, but okay.
Number 9, Fate of the Furious.
Okay. Yeah, Fate's still down there. Yeah.
Number 8, Tokyo Drift.
Oh, so that's low. Okay.
Number 7, the first Fast and Furious. Also low.
Very low.
Number 6, 4 Fast, 4 Furious, a.k.a. Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Number 5, Fast 5. Oof.
That's low. Yeah.
Number 4, F9, the Fast Saga. So we got our first official ranking at number 4.
4 kind of feels right, dude. It does, but go ahead.
Number 3, Furious 7.
Okay.
Number 2, Fast and Furious 6. And number 1, like Heather, loves his Bilkins, Too Fast.
Fast, Too Furious.
Too Furious. It is funny to me, and maybe not funny, but the first one and the third one are very, very low. But he loves number 2. So it's not even like a car thing versus an action thing. It's just a different thing, right? So.
No, it's just a different thing, man. I feel it, though. Every time we watch 2, Rachel speaks its praise. She talks about how much she loves it every time we see it. Yep.
And our final email, thank you to Justin. Thank you to everybody who's emailed in. Our final email today is from Wes Hampton. Subject line, F9 reaction, what up, fam?
What up, Wes?
It's been a while, but I had to make some time to talk about what we've been waiting over a year to talk about. We saw F9 last night, and holy shit, it was so much fun. So what I will say is that 100% across the board, again, if you're the type of person who is listening and probably paying to listen to a Fast and Furious podcast, and we like the movie, you're going to like the movie too. But that's 100% across the board. everybody enjoyed this movie.
And their reactions weren't like, it was really good. It was like, holy shit, that's what we wanted.
And I like what Alex's was, which I sort of feel too, is that there's a sense of relief. So like Paul F. Tompkins is a comedian, a podcaster, and improviser who I love. He loves Wes Anderson movies, and he made a big thing, like a couple of podcasts he had ago. When a new Wes Anderson movie comes out, he's very nervous because he likes every movie he's made. And he goes into a new movie worried it's going to break the streak, and it never breaks the streak. Like he likes every single one of them. But the same thing here, just like that we put so much weight on these movies,
and they could flub it, dude. It's not hard to make a bad action movie. It like not like even bad fun action. Like it's not hard to make a bad action movie.
Like we loved Hobbs and Shaw. Obviously Justin doesn't, but I wonder what it would have been like if we had done this before Fate, and we saw Fate. We'd be like, yeah, no, that was great. I mean, now I really like it, but like...
I don't think so. I would have still been like, I have some problems with this. I'd have been like, it was fun, but like, yeah.
So here we go. I tried to jot down some little notes for myself afterwards to organize my thoughts, but we'll see how that worked. I apologize in advance for the length, because again, it is long. This is Wes after all. I know all my emails are long, he says, but this one's especially lengthy. I've got 145 minutes of movie to talk about and 18 months of thoughts to discuss. Feel free to edit or omit anything. Well, I don't read this in advance. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
As you know, we ended up with a group of about 20 people in our theater, specifically because they want to see the movie with me and Mrs. West. It was wild. Someone said it felt like a classic junior high movie birthday party, and to be honest, it felt like it was my birthday.
That's cute. I like that. Happy birthday.
The theater was great. We saw A Quiet Place 2 a few weeks ago at a special screening, but that was at an old Palace-style theater downtown, maybe the Paramount. I don't know. He didn't say that, but I'm guessing. So this was our actual return to the movies, and it was awesome. The theater was full of other people, not just our friends, and the crowd was laughing and cheering and clapping. It was great. Bloodshot was my last movie before quarantine. This was my first real movie experience after Vin Diesel started my quarantine and then welcomed me back to normal life.
I love that happened. That's really awesome. You said Bloodshot was almost your last movie before quarantine, but...
Yeah, my actual last movie was Onward, but I had bought the night before, so Friday the 13th, we went into lockdown. Like, that was, like, the date that everybody says, like, that's, you know, when the government was like, don't go outside. And then the next 2 days, I hung out with friends anyway, because I'm like, whatever. That Thursday night, the 12th, I had tickets to see The Hunt and Bloodshot, and I was the only person in my theater with Bloodshot. I'm like, I still can't get this disease from going to see Bloodshot. Like, we'll just wait. Because I knew you weren't going to see it yet and whatever, and then those both came out on VOD like a month later or whatever, so yeah. I do want to say, he's talking about his crowd. I wish our crowd was more into it. Like, I was clapping and laughing, and like everybody was like, I was definitely the loudest, sort of like biggest asshole maybe, but like in a positive way.
Yeah,
and like our group was like cheering and laughing and into it, but like I didn't hear anybody in the theater really react to anything.
I heard some people getting hyped for other things, but yeah. I see what you're saying though. It
would have been great to see it with a huge, like devoted Fast and Furious crowd. Like,
you mean
when I saw Endgame the night, like the Thursday night, it was like, this is amazing. Like, people just like shook, right? Like, this, it could have, I don't know.
Well, I think that what really needs to happen is that, you know, next time we just watch it with the fucking patrons.
Yeah, we'll go to Iowa, which is probably centrally located for everybody. Inconvenient for everybody, convenient for no one.
Sounds perfect. That's right up my alley.
After the movie, all my friends were asking what I thought about them. I told them, quote, this movie was 100% fan service, and I loved it. It was written specifically for me. There were some good action set pieces, but it was so much about the family drama stuff that anyone coming into this without some experience with the previous movies would probably be pretty confused and or bored. I think that's a good point, because I think we say that how many of these movies could be somebody's first. I don't think this could be somebody's first Fast and Furious movie. Like, you kind of could, but like, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. Yes. That's the real answer there. I think it could be your first. I think that a lot would be lost on you. It just like wouldn't be as much fun. Like, you'd be like, oh, that was an okay movie, whatever. Right? Like, it wouldn't be like, oh my god, that was awesome. Like, you wouldn't have the same reaction we would.
Right, like nobody else.
All the jokes.
We talked about, I don't know if it was on the episode because we've been recording a while or before, but like Stasiak and Kenny Linder, the name Kenny Linder. It's like, people don't know who that person is or that name means. Like, you don't need to know the name Kenny Linder because like you see Dom beat the shit out of him. But like, as soon as you're like, oh shit, that's Kenny Linder, it's like, oh, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree that as much as I liked Fate when we saw it on opening day, it still kind of felt blah compared to the previous few movies. This one did not feel that way at all. It immediately felt more exciting and connected to the rest of the franchise.
That's true too. Yeah, that's how I was feeling last night. It just feels different, for sure. Especially to 8. Like, 8 just, yeah.
My first thought after the movie ended was that After 2 decades of basically ignoring or forgetting all the details of the series, like timelines, names, character deaths, and character history, suddenly in the 9th main installment, they decided to dig deep and start making super deep cut callbacks. Justin Lin's definitely listened to your show, and it actually made me wonder if we've given Chris Morgan too much credit. I was so nervous that he wouldn't be writing this one, but I enjoyed it in Hobbs and Shaw, which he did write was fun, but ultimately just okay. I know there's a lot more to it than that, which you talked about earlier, but I think the takeaway is that Justin Lin is always good.
I think so too. Dude, it's really funny how many of you guys were like, yeah, they have to be listening to us at this point, right? Because we've been saying this, and I mean, ultimately it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? Like, we don't know that anybody actually pays attention to what the fuck we're talking about. But now we have kind of some credence here. I think so, at least.
Right away, I also want to ask, did anyone else watching this think that other than the character stuff, the plot was just Spy Racer Season 1? Which...
Rachel said that in the theater. Yeah, she did.
I mean, there's the big caravan, and there's Mexico. Yeah. Although I don't think Mexico was Season 1. Mexico was different season, right? Yeah.
At one point, she did say, like, is this just Spy Racers? But yeah.
But, like, nobody who's seen this movie saw Spy Racers. Like, the cross-section, right, is us, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
Bad guy has to collect pieces or a key of some super tech that can be controlled, anything tech-based. It wasn't a mask, but it did involve the child of the scientist couple who invented the tech that were murdered. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, Wes.
It's kind of it, yeah.
I loved all the flashback stuff and think they did an excellent job casting everyone. I don't know if they modulated his voice at all, but young Dom sounded spot on for Dom's age. I also loved seeing baby Letty, Mia, Vince, and Hector. I'm sure there were others in the street race scene, but that's all I caught on first watch. Jesse was there too, I think. We saw Jesse,
yeah,
right?
because we saw the hat. Yeah, that's how I knew it was Jesse.
I really love the Breathe remix during Jacob and Dom's race. I don't know what that song is. We'll find out.
I purposely, when we were driving to the theater yesterday, I wasn't listening to the 9 soundtrack because I didn't want to spoil the songs in it, because I love the Hobbs and Shaw one so much that I didn't want to spoil anything. So yeah, I didn't listen to the soundtrack, but I'm gonna revisit it soon because I love all the Fast and Furious soundtracks. So
yeah, they made a TMNT reference. They sure did, and all my friends turned to look at me. Well, yeah, it's just like Heather being with us in Star Wars. Like, oh yeah, you're the Turtles guy, right? Okay.
Exactly.
While we're talking about combining my favorites, Jacob was basically Spider-Man for 10 minutes. All I could think was, quote, they did the world's longest runway, now it's the world's longest zipline. Oh yeah, he did zipline for a while. I mean, they do show him reloading and shooting a new zipline, but he also ziplined on that one zipline for a long time.
I was like, does he just set up where were they at? London? Right, when he's doing this?
I think so.
And I was like, did he just set up zip lines all
No, that wasn't London. I said London before. That was in Edinburgh. That was in Scotland.
Oh, that's right.
Which, by the way, they didn't go to Thailand in this movie.
No, they did not.
They went to Mexico, they went to Cologne, Germany, they went to Tokyo, they went to London, they went to Edinburgh, they went to space.
Yeah, but no Thailand. Nope.
They went to some country that I don't know, it was some Ilbitsk or something. A city I don't know in what looks like some kind of Cyrillic kind of spelling, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I love the wink and nod meta stuff. They mostly kept it to Roman, but weren't super over the top with it. Watching Roman, Tej, and Ramsey act as a unit for most of the movie, I could see the potential for a spin-off for them. Sure?
Exactly. Yep, 100% with us. Also, another one of these branches, I think that it very much built a Roman, Tej, possibly Ramsey spinoff too, as much as it built a Ramsey, Mia, Letty spinoff. I think they're kind of testing the waters there.
Also, the interactions with Mia and Letty, especially in Tokyo, made me really want to see that spinoff. Yep. Bring in Madam M, bring in Vienna and Cam from Crossroads. Yep. Maybe bring Suki back. Yep. Maybe even include Cardi B. Yep. I would definitely watch that movie. Well, yeah, so would we. I mean, of course. Of course we would. We were contractually obligated.
Well, you said it already. You forgot Echo. That's who we should bring into this too.
Let Echo lead.
Let Echo lead.
As you know, I've never been a fan of the idea of going to space just because it was an internet joke. I would say that was my least favorite part of this movie, but it was still enjoyable. The whole thing was a good, light B-plot to keep the movie from being too serious toward the end, which is what I said earlier. It felt jarring, but I get why. It's a chance to breathe. I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
It played into the meta-ness of Roman and Tej's story, and I think walked a fine line between being too cheeky and too serious.
Agreed. Yep.
I like the Sean, Earl, and Twinkie stuff, although I can see if you're not a fan of Tokyo Drift, how it would seem a little silly and out of place. I love the joke about Twinkie's name and how they dropped Dom's name, and Twinkie and Earl are like, who's that? Also, keep in mind, canonically, they're all supposed to be 23 to 25 years old. As Tej says, numbers don't lie.
We talked a lot about the age things earlier, so yes, we're with you.
Age thing here is the future ages, because going back in time is bad, but also going in the future, the Tokyo, it's bad.
It's bad. Yep.
I'm sure this will be a hotly debated topic, but I actually liked Cardi B's character. No,
We all did. We were all with you. Yep.
I expected her to start a race or something very minor along the lines of Rita Ora, Iggy Azalea, but I liked when they were like, we're going back to London. I was like, ooh, Rita Ora, maybe, but
yeah.
no.
But I did too, Wes. That's exactly what we were thinking. We thought it was going to be like a quick cameo, some bullshit, but no, she's like a real character.
So here's the thing about Cardi that he had said before. I liked what they did with her. Also, Dom says something about her being Kara's little sister. Do you remember Kara? She's riding with Han at the beginning of F4, and they're flirting like crazy in Los Bandoleros, though in that short she's credited as Mirtha, which is the actor's real first name.
Oh, that is a deep cut.
That's crazy.
Oh, good catch, Wes. No, I didn't catch that then. Oh, very
wild.
cool.
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. She's like the one that kind of has like a poofy hairstyle.
If I had heard that, I would have recognized the name, but I wouldn't have been able to place who it was.
Yeah, good.
I know there's a Kara, but I don't know who Kara is.
Well, we have Kara Gale Arena.
Who, by the way, hit her stretch goal, so she's got to Photoshop herself in the Suki car. So congratulations to her. She raised $2,000, and she's like, uh-oh. You messed with like, uh-oh, so...
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job. Good job at everybody that helped.
Wes says, I was actually pretty okay with the Han stuff. It wildly rewrites the story again, and I'm not sure if it will affect my rewatches knowing that Mr. Nobody was running Han for basically all of Tokyo Drift. Well, was he, though?
No, he firmly was. But also, why is Mr. Nobody, like, trying to get DK, right? Like, that's, like, or, like, even, like, the Yakuza. Like, Sonny Chiba's not the Yakuza boss, so, like, it feels like Mr. Nobody was, like, playing way under his weight class with this, but sure.
Maybe it's a way to explain why he's working with DK even though he's a multimillionaire. It really doesn't matter. I also kind of like that Roman specifically asked what everyone wanted to know about the exploding car, even though he wasn't there to see it. I'm also fine with them hand-waving that by just saying no, Mr. Nobody faked it. It's a character death that has been retconned twice. There's no further explanation that would make more sense.
Nope.
So we can just leave it at that, as long as he's not an evil robot Han, right? Which, yeah.
Exactly.
With all the cameos, I actually was half expecting Giselle to show up. Yeah, me too.
Same. There was like there was a moment where Elle like pops up behind something and like helps Han, and I was like, is that Giselle? But it's just another girl with dark hair and a dark thing.
I mean, Gal Gadot is in this because they have a flashback to the end of 5, where she says Takio.
Yes.
And then there's also, they mention her when Mr. Nobody's talking to Han. He's like, I saw how you were with Giselle, blah, 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 blah.
That's how I trusted you. She was working for me too, by the way.
We thought, like, we talked about Cypher and, like, being, with Owen and being with Braga, but, like, yeah, there's this other broader conspiracy or whatever.
I'm telling you, dude, I think my Mr. Nobody being the big bad theory is coming now that we keep undressing it, even after we've seen it once. Because he was running Giselle, he was running Han, he was running Dom at some point, Jacob. Yeah.
What happened to Mr. Nobody? Speaking of, his plane went down, he was presumably captured, right? So they're just going to have a barbecue and forget that he's probably being held prisoner somewhere? Well, no, but we talked a lot about Mr. Nobody. I think we're...
Next movie, bud.
I'm glad it didn't tie into Hobbs and Shaw. They can come back together later, but I kind of hope the whole Etion thing just stays in the spin-off world. Okay.
I wanted to tie back in together for the last one, but that's my personal preference.
This movie really felt for the first time like the start of a whole cinematic universe. I think this is what you're talking about with the branches. Watching everyone on screen, I could see a Roman Taj Ramsey spinoff. I could see a Letty Mia spinoff. I could even see a Han spinoff. And I was really excited about the idea of that and how they could connect way more than I ever thought about the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. Hobbs and Shaw are charismatic and fun, but they don't feel connected to the core of the franchise the way that these characters do. Could even see a prequel movie or series with a young cast maybe explaining the Johnny Tran fallout. That could be fun.
Yep.
It would be an excuse to bring it back to the lower stakes street level stuff. Yeah?
You know what I'm thinking? Not a prequel movie, prequel miniseries. That's what we're going to get.
On the way to the movie theater yesterday, I was talking to Mike about the new MCU series, and I'm just like, I'm not into it. Like, I don't like Loki. I don't care about Loki as a character. I don't care about him as a character. I think it's very predictable. It's whatever. I don't care. I don't care.
Loki's the best of all of them. I can't believe that you...
No, I think I still, like, my power rankings right now, halfway through Loki, would be WandaVision, then Falcon, then Loki, I think.
It's wild.
And I don't particularly love any of them. But, that said... if they did anything, because like I think part of it is that they're tapping into like they want you to love Loki, or if there's the comic books or whatever, like there's the whole like because in the comic books like Falcon becomes Cap, so like that was a known thing, and there's like Black Captain, all that stuff, right? So like if you have that history, it's like, oh, this is the story being told. The same way with the movies, right?
Yep.
There's none of that here, but like I'm so much more tapped into and invested here that like if they were doing with the MCU, or if they're doing Fast and Furious, what they're doing with the MCU, I would be like, yeah, cool, hell yeah. It's not going to be nearly as popular as the MCU, I don't think, but like I would still see it.
Yeah, and why not, right? Like that's the whole point. Like we have the same reaction as people that really love the MCU do, right? Like it's like, okay, give us anything and we'll be fine with it. Like we'll
Give
be
me a
okay.
reason to pay for Peacock.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super happy that most of the biggest action scenes we saw in the trailer were from the beginning of the movie, which I did say to you, like the whole first trailer is basically that opening action scene. Yes. I was prepared for the jungle stuff to be the climax, but I'm glad that didn't spoil all the big stuff. I know they showed some of the magnet bits and flipping the truck, but they could have shown so much more. Well, it's like how for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, all the trailers for that were like, oh my God, Tom Cruise is hanging on the outside of an airplane. Like, this is insane. How are they going to get there? And that's how that movie starts. Like, that's the first scene in that movie. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how are you going to, and like, there's like 3 or 4 scenes that are like as big as that. Like, there's something remarkable. And I think that was a relief. Like, if I had seen the second trailer, I would have been pissed. But the second one, most of the first trailer,
I agree. It was like a lot. It starts with Brian's fucking car at the thing. It's really sucked. I was not happy with it. But yes, I agree.
I don't know yet how I feel about Cypher's role. I guess if they wanted to expand the world with Jacob, reconcile Dom's past, and build their bench a little more by turning him good, it worked to give Cypher a little setback before ultimately unleashing her again. Even though she didn't win, she did effectively eliminate some competition and will likely be in a stronger position for 10 and 11. I'm guessing she's going to be the Thanos of this series with the way they left her. With essentially one more story to tell, it wouldn't make sense to shift to a new villain now.
The more you guys keep talking about this stuff, the more I'm thinking it's Mr. Nobody the whole time. It was Agatha all along, for sure. It's feeling like that to me, man. I don't know why, but that's what I'm thinking. It will be like, because Cypher can't be the big bad now. She's in like the last 4 movies, right? Like there has to be some kind of reveal that it's somebody else.
I agree. I love the Mr. Nobody idea. I also would not be surprised if it's just Cypher. Although like the whole like we like Fate more because Cypher's in the trailer for 9. I thought Cypher's gonna have a much bigger role in this movie than she did, and the fact that she didn't. Doesn't boost 8, like it almost kind of dings 8 in retrospect because like it feels even more kind of standalone-y, right? I don't know.
I think so too. I think we thought that it would bring 8 up a lot, and instead it just like made 8 come down some. So
I'm really happy with the Brian stuff. I think it was a little much when Mia says the kids are in the safest possible hands and Letty follows it up with Brian's. Based on the vibe of the rest of the movie, their target audience would have known who Mia meant without naming him. But that part in the end with the empty chair and the blue GTR pulling in was really nice.
I loved it too. I think it was well done, and I'm glad that they didn't try to throw Cody being Brian in for like 75 minutes of this movie yet. I wasn't emotionally ready for it. It wasn't the place.
On that note, I was totally fine with the whole movie, really just enjoying myself. And then when Dom gives Jacob the keys and says, someone once gave me a 10-second car as a second chance, I couldn't handle it. I obviously knew he was going to give Jacob the car, but when he held the keys out and said that, the emotion just hit me out of nowhere. Yeah.
Oh, is that, you got a little verklempt there?
I wouldn't call it, I mean, I guess it's chills. I don't know. That's the moment in the movie where it's just like, oh, fuck. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was me hearing the GTR pull up at the end, like when they're like, there's somebody that he's on his way, and once they said that, and then you hear it be like coming down the street, I was like, oh no.
Wes says Alamo dropped F&F candy, regular fun-size candy bars, with our checks, which came about 45 minutes before the end of the movie, and we were all kinds of confused, but whatever, free candy. Then they had the whole bit about Roman's candy, and it all made sense, and I had to laugh.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. Well played, Alamo. Nice touch.
When I saw The Guest at Fantastic Fest, there's a scene in that movie where they go to a bar because the son in the family is getting bullied. And so Dan Stevens, who is the guest, the titular guest, comes, I'm going to stand up for you. And they go to this bar, this underage bar, like the bar that like allows underage kids to drink or whatever. In that scene, he orders blowjob shots for the dudes to embarrass them.
Okay.
Cosmos for the girls and blowjob shots at the guys, and he orders himself a Fireball or some kind of drink like that, whatever. It's just like, it doesn't matter. But while that scene is setting up at Fantastic Fest, they come around and they drop shots of like Fireball whiskey or whatever at everybody's. It was the really coolest. Cool. So we're like, what is this? Because I think they might have mentioned at the beginning, like at some point in the movie, you're going to get some food or drink or whatever, and you'll understand what it is when it comes. And so they drop the shots. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because like that's kind of like, in a sense, like his fuel to fuck those dudes up, even though he didn't need it. But like it was like, oh, that's cool. Like Alamo does it.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, it does it right.
Really nice touch, yeah.
The series is starting to feel more and more like Supernatural, which is another of my favorites. It started out pretty serious, but as time went on, the fandom grew, the show leaned into the melodrama, and also got super meta, and it was great, even when fans complained about how each new season, quote, didn't have the spirit of the original seasons, or whatever. We loved Supernatural to the end and cried like freaking babies when it was over, and we'll do the same with F&F.
Well, thankfully, F&F will never be over, because 1, they're going to do a million spin-offs, and 2, you always have us, so it'll never be over.
Forever. Okay, that's everything that comes to mind right now. I'm sure I'll have some more thoughts over the coming days, but it was a long movie and a lot happened that I'm still processing. I just wanted to get my thoughts in for your full F9 episode. Until next time, stay furious, Wes. Well, thank you, Wes, and thank you to everybody who wrote in.
Thank you.
If you think of more things, please, family@cageclub.me. We'll read it on a future episode. And Joe, I got to tell you, we still have 8 or 9 emails to read that are not about F9. So
awesome! It's always good to hear from you guys, and it's good to hear from people that we haven't heard from in a while too. Shout out Cassie.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you all for listening. F9 in the books. Sigh of relief. Joy in our hearts.
Yes,
it was good.
It was fucking awesome. I'm glad that you guys liked it as much as we did. If for some reason you listened to the spoiler episode but needed convincing and still haven't seen it,
there's no way they're like more than 2 hours into this episode and like not still on board. Like you either bail.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys know. Never mind then.
We'll be back next time. Maybe do a mailbag episode. It depends on how the mailbag shakes out over the next couple days, like before, like midweek next week.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a bonus episode or whatever. Otherwise, we'll just do it in Fast and Furious, because the next full episode for sure will be Fast and Furious number 4, which is going to be cool. And then again, the week after that will be F9 with the Mikester. So more of this coming up soon. If you want to see it again in theaters, please do it, because we're going to. And I think it should theoretically be on premium video on demand end of July sometime. So hopefully. Any other final thoughts, Joe? Any closing sentiments?
I feel relieved. Yeah, relief. You know, what is my biggest R? It's relief. That's what I'm feeling.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you can go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com. Welcome to Michael and to Jenny.
Yeah, welcome.
For joining the family here. Thank you both so very much. Our store at TooFastTooForever.shop, I think it's still on sale today. Friday, maybe another day. I don't know.
It goes on sale forever, dude.
It's like 4 times a month. Just keep your eye on it. Do not pay us full price, because we don't get more money or less money either way. I think we get like
$1 each or something.
$2 or $3 a shirt. So you like, a shirt's $30 or whatever, and they get most, whatever. We're not getting rich off anything. But if you're gonna spend money in the store, wait for a sale. TooFastTooForever.shop, family@cageclub.me. Go see the movie. Tell your friends. See it with friends. See it again. Email us. We'll talk about it next time. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we'll tell you all about it
when we see you